Alright, you sorry lot. Good evening and welcome back to Higurashi Part 4. A part I can't honestly name, but it's gonna be fun. You ready for some more exciting Higurashi action? We've certainly come to the right place. Let's get into some more Higurashi. And of course, worshipping How How apparently. That's a thing we gotta do. Right, we can't go a day without that, right?
How how?
I'll even redeem a How How for myself. Free with my devotion.
How?
Oh, here we go. A response. She responded to me. Clearly I'm leaving a good impression on her. Alright. Let's dive into this. Chapter 2. Do I think Chapter 2 is going to be more of the prequel or pre-stuff? I guess we'll find out. Or we're going to get into the main story. I don't know if this is the main story or a prequel, but I was kind of expecting us to go back to Keiichi. Maybe it'll be a couple chapters before we do that. Waking up in a cheap hotel in the city was by no means pleasant. Okay. Clearly not following Keiichi, we're still following the cop. I remembered even during the long camping trips we had during grade school, I wanted to get home quickly, counting the days left on my fingers. Waking up this morning, I was somehow reminded of that. Was it a need to be with my wife when she gave birth? A particular type of homesickness? As a productive member of society, as a public servant bound to fulfill his duties, it was pathetic indeed. Hey, how's it going, Danny? Loving the dance cinema. Those negative emotions faded as I downed my breakfast, which was surprisingly not half bad. The meeting with the informant that Uishi had provided would be tonight. Tonight, you say? Until then, I couldn't just be lazing about. The Onigafuchi Guardians were protesting the dam's construction in various ways. Included in this was a strategy for improving public relations, which could be categorized into two major forms, combative and peaceful. How. Always how. In regards to the former, as an attempt to keep law enforcement in check, they appealed to the public's sympathy by highlighting the oppressive and inhumane tactics of the police and the brutality of the riot squads. It's just a dam, bro. The latter peaceful route stressed how precious the natural surroundings of Hinamizawa were, seeking people who would oppose the dam on environmental grounds. Honestly, I feel like, having read three arcs of this story, that it would unironically be a good idea to drown the entire city. And it wouldn't even necessarily be a bad idea to do it while the people were still there. Like, would it be a better idea to just drown everyone? Get rid of the Oyashiro-sama's curse and never have to deal with that again? This man, not a great place. No, honestly, the damn construction workers might have actually been doing a good thing if they were going to put this entire city underwater. And then we'd only have people who, like, weirdly dived in the reservoir getting brutally murdered, instead of tons of people every year. Or worse, the entire city. A massive bloodbath. As part of that, the village of Hinamizawa had invited celebrated zoologists and botanists, as well as environmental groups, to advertise the nature surrounding the town. According to the news, in recent years there had been a group calling itself the Hinamizawa Nature Watching, setting up free sightseeing tours. I would have liked to have taken advantage of the opportunity, but when I called the village administrative offices, they said it was too late to apply for the tour, and they were still undecided as to when they'd be doing another one. So it looks like they canceled them at some point? I see. Well, there's no applications for next time? Too bad. Are you a member of an environmental group? Or somebody for a magazine? No, just here privately. Privately? A tourist? Something like that. It's my hobby to take pictures that display how beautiful nature can be. Like Tomitake? I read in a magazine there were some precious nature reserves here, so I was looking forward to it. I knew that there was an article that had something like that written in it, but I hadn't actually read it. Was it this ad-libbed lie? Not gonna work? I would have probably said, was this ad-libbed lie? I'm kind of surprised they put the word it in there. However, contrary to my expectations, the person I was speaking to laughed happily. Well, come. The village is a little busy now, but you're totally welcome here. In that case, I'll graciously accept the offer, thank you. How are you getting around? Car? If that's the case, can I ask for your license plate number? No, there's no ulterior motive behind that. It was probably related to the checkpoints they set up on the way to the village. If I didn't give them my license plate, I'd most likely be hindered in several ways. I thought about using the car aboard from the prefecture, but I was lost on whether it was okay to tell them that plate number. If the Onigafuchi Guardians were behind this incident, there was no guarantee they wouldn't be able to find out who I was. I had to play it safe, so I elected to refrain from using the car. No, actually, I'm not using a car. If there's a bus or something, I'd prefer that. We have a bus, actually. The route's going to be discontinued soon, though. You can take that. It departs from Okonomiya Station. Oh, thanks. I'll look forward to it. Yes, we don't... Wild Altria Sims. Altria, yes, of course. I knew it would be coming. Is it your first time in Hinamizawa? Also the perfect reaction. Like 5 seconds before Reina decides to either screech at you or take an axe to you. You don't know what she's gonna do, but it's gonna be terrifying. Although, to be honest, Reina's actually only gone like full crazed killer in one arc so far. The second and third arcs, she hasn't actually done anything violent. She's maybe been a little bit angry and emotional, screaming about the curse in the last arc, but the second and third arc, she hasn't actually, like, tried to kill anybody. So is this your first time in Hinamizawa? Well, I've been here several times, but I don't know about this guy. I think this guy's his first time. It is. You must be unsure about a lot of things. You let me know. I can have somebody show you around. Oh no, I couldn't ask that much of you. Don't worry about it. This is just a bit of PR we do to protect nature around the village. Judging by what I saw at the checkpoint, the villagers were at the very least wary of outsiders. That's why in order to move in and out of the village freely, I had to travel with someone like Uishi or side with the dam protests. Having an interest in the natural environment surrounding the village tied into the peaceful type of PR the village was using. I was a bit against having a watchdog attached to me, but that might actually work out in my favor. I mean, you need perspectives from both sides, right? So having an aide follow you around, recommending places for you to go, and discussing the protests with you might be relevant, right? Like, you can get their side of the story and figure out if there's anything that the police are doing wrong that needs to change or something like that. The entire village was fired up about the dam protests, so I might be lucky enough to hear some especially candid opinions from the residents, given that there's no real reason for me to refuse their offer. Is it really alright, though? If so, that'll really help. After that, I was shown the bus schedule and directed to which bus I should get on. Somebody would come and meet me at the bus stop in the village. After showing me around a spot I'd taken interest in, there was no doubt they'd bring me to somewhere like an anti-dam information center. Probably. Then over a cup of tea, they'd try and indoctrinate me into accepting their principles and beliefs. Well, if that's their aim, there'd be a lot of freebies involved. The world's all about give and take, after all. That makes sense. They give you a free tour. And then they take you to like an information center where they describe all the horrible goings-ons related to the dam. They're like, look at all the horrible stuff they're gonna do. Think of the nature. I couldn't be going in a suit. I pulled some plain clothes out of my travel case and changed it to something more casual. Shorts and a t-shirt, or pants and a t-shirt. You know what? Just and a light jacket. You don't want to get bit by mosquitoes. After calming down by watching some local television, I left the hotel and set out for Okonomiya Station. The bus route I was told would soon be discontinued certainly didn't look that way. There were more than enough trips on the schedule, and the number of passengers was by no means sparse. It was the main link to Okonomiya, the only town in the area. The types of passengers that stood out were older folk who didn't look like they could drive, and housewives who didn't seem like they had a license. I assume it's going to be like mostly residents of Hinamizawa. If the area was submerged at the bottom of the lake, it wouldn't matter if there was a bus route. That's why it was going to be discontinued. in the unnatural scheme of things, yeah. It's like, it's a busy route because it's the only way to and from the town? I could catch a glimpse of the government's intent in cutting off their means of transportation to bully the village into emptying out sooner. Makes sense. According to the documents, talks between the Ministry of Construction and locals broke down quite early. The government decided from the start to take an aggressive stance on the matter. It was like a fairy tale with the north wind and the sun trying to get the traveler to remove his cloak. I don't know this story. Even their bullying had meaning to it. The reason why the Onigafuji Guardians resisted so violently was because the government was doing unseemly things like that. As someone who lived in Tokyo, for a village or two out in the boonies like this to be submerged, it didn't really seem like a big deal. I mean, it doesn't seem like a big deal for me either. I don't know why people are so attached to this, but hey. It's like, we live in a cursed village. Fuck you, I want to live in this cursed village. You can't make me leave. Like, your village is cursed? But I guess for somebody actually living here, it'd be a vitally huge problem. Ooh, Fate Zero, that's a good show. That's a good show. I actually fell an episode behind on Spy X Family, so I gotta catch up on that at some point. Time for a drink. This route will be discontinued at the end of this financial year. Thank you for your patronage up to this point. We look forward to your continued patronage on other lines. Okonomi, transportation. Gazing lazily at the notice of discontinued service posted inside the bus, I counted down the number of stops until the designated one. Along the way, we passed through the checkpoint without stopping. They knew what time the bus was coming, so they opened up the barricade ahead of time. From here on out was enemy territory. My palms had at some point become coated in a thin film of sweat. Now arriving at Ukito Waterworks. Now arriving at Ukito Waterworks. Are there any passengers disembarking? I hurriedly pressed the stop button, the stop request button as the designated stop was announced. For none of the numerous passengers to be getting off here meant it was quite the remote place. Waterworks might be near the dam. In actuality, the stop I got off at was so abnormally run down I could tell it was barely used. Asuno Ripa? This is actually a new graphic. So was the hotel room. As I stepped out, an intense atmosphere, completely different than the interior of the bus, assailed my body. I'm kind of curious how long we're going to stick with this, since the OP hinted at Rika, and we haven't actually gotten even to Keiichi's perspective, and Rika's like... How old would Rika be 5 years ago? She'd be like 4. No, maybe a bit older than that. She'd be like 6. She'd be like 6 around now. She wouldn't be doing shit. So I'm guessing we're going to swap to Keiichi at some point. I'm just curious what chapter it's going to be at. Maybe chapter 3 or 4? I was initially thinking just the first chapter would be like giving us some background on the dam information, but it seems like we're going to be in this dam investigation for a while. Maybe the first 4 chapters? Right now, Ueshi or Hondaya weren't beside me. That's right, at present, I was alone in the middle of enemy territory. My adversaries probably thought I was just an ordinary tourist, but that was nothing more than a ruse. But if by some mistake my true identity was to be exposed, it brought back the terrifying words I'd heard at the prefectural office. If somebody was attacked in Hinamizawa with a knife, there wouldn't be any evidence left behind. I didn't seem suspicious, did I? My clothing was currently casual. It was the type of clothing a city slicker that viewed the countryside as a wholesome getaway would wear. Do you have a camera, my dude? A camera and knapsack? Oh, he has those. Inside were various things needed for hiking. It was still only June, maybe it was unusual, but the sun was shining down like it was already the middle of summer. This guy reminds me of Tomitake. Anyone else getting Tomitake vibes from this? The fact that I didn't bring a hat must seem odd. No, it wasn't something to be that concerned about. It's alright. I'm just a normal tourist. Just normal. What? Is there anything suspicious about me? Asking that as I turned around to look at the bus that was departing. All the passengers by the window were staring down at me silently. Staring right at me. Dude, I was not expecting those eyes. Okay, that was a bit of a jump scare. I'm like trying to stay calm and read the voice. I'm like, nice, nice. We got a bit of a jump scare. as if they'd seen right through my proud little outfit, just staring, looking down at me. Countless stares rained down like needles on me from the windows open to air out the bus. All that rained down were stares, and none of them said a word. But all the more, their silent stares told me more than a million words could. Hurry up and go back to Tokyo, outsider. No, There's no reason for me to speak. My quiet voice was drowned out by the sound of the engines. The bus, as if to torment me, set out slowly, and after doing more than enough to intimidate me, sped off. That's right, the bus was intimidating him. So were the eyes. A thin film of sweat began to rise from my entire body. Maybe this isn't the right place to stop. We have like a rundown bus station, not a single local gets off here, and they're all just like giving you death stares from the bus, like this guy's out of place. What is he doing? Who is this mysterious and possibly evil stranger? According to the documents, it was a village that seemed wary of outsiders. Its population was small as well. If they saw an unfamiliar face, they'd be quick to identify that face as an outsider. On top of that, nobody else had gotten off at this stop. It was a bus stop they normally passed on by. Somebody actually getting off here no doubt drew some attention. But this wasn't a slip-up. They were the ones who directed me to get off at this stop. There's nothing to worry about. I knew I was just nervous because this is my first undercover assignment. My more seasoned colleagues referred to us as the new generation that didn't know how to lose their cool. But that wasn't true at all. Wait, they didn't know how to lose their cool, so they don't know how to fly off the handle? Whew. In order to calm my breathing, I exhaled the unpleasant air residing in the pit of my stomach. I couldn't help but pray my apprehensions would disappear like the white clouds of exhaust expelled from the bus. There's a small shed there to serve as shelter if it rained, and it was there I decided to wait. Inside the shed, one wall was plastered with posters advertising the dam opposition efforts. It was like the heartfelt screams of the villagers were recorded on that wall. Inside that shelter, I felt an inexplicable pressure, like they made him get off at an abandoned stop. An abandoned stop in the middle of fucking nowhere? That's a bit awkward. Maybe take out your camera and like try to occupy time by taking a couple of pictures of like the surrounding scenery so you don't look sus, but man. It wasn't like I had any real relation to the dam project, but it still made me feel hesitant about being inside here. That's just how filled with the force of denial this space is. Okay. Inside that uneasy space was a girl. Alright, we got Rika. Wait, how old's Rika supposed to be? She is single digits years old. She's single digits right now. Bear in mind that Keiichi is 14 when the story takes place, and he's older than her. And they say it's 4 or 5 years before that. Alright. Inside that shed, covered in words written in broad brushstrokes berating the policies regarding the dam and calling for action, there was a girl sitting there with a drowsy gaze as if half asleep. That's a big-ass head. Her head is also as wide, if not wider, than her shoulders. And larger than her torso. An interesting perspective. They also put it at like a 45-degree angle so we could get like a complete shot of her. Yeah, her head is colossal. Dude, like, her head has gotta be like... It's gotta be the size of like... I don't know, like a beach ball. That's gotta be beach ball sized. I was thinking basketball, but I realized basketball was too small. It's gonna be like a beach ball, not a beach volleyball. Like the actual beach balls that are inflatable, they're a little bit larger than basketballs. That's what I'm thinking the size of this is. It's huge. The two images clashed so much I could only stand there dumbfounded for a moment, trapped in a surreal environment. If I stepped inside, who knew what kind of oafish noises I would accidentally make? I couldn't be disturbing this girl's slumber like that. But she might be the person here to talk to? Having thought this, I gave up on entering the shed. It was just a sleeping kid. Why was I so worked up about it? But finally I realized this girl, to us as a married couple, it was the ideal image, the image of our ideal child. Even after numerous examinations at the hospital, we didn't know for sure what our child's gender was. Whether we could tell if they were a boy or a girl in the end, depended on whether or not we could get an image of their genitalia. There was, of course, no guarantee it was a girl, but with things the way they were, the possibility was high. Yeah, you know what it is? 50-50. Even so, Yuki had been saying the chances it was a boy or a girl were even. Yeah, that's right. What do you think the odds are? In my heart, I'd already decided that our coming child was a girl. Since the day I decided that until now, it was so fun to imagine how our child would grow up that I couldn't help myself. Amongst those numerous imagined forms, the one I thought to be the most ideal had materialized right in front of me, literally the image of his perfect imagined daughter. Of course, a little bit was due to circumstances. In my ideal image, her hair would be on the short side. He doesn't like long hair, okay. The girl in front of me, though, had long hair. Almost as if someone took my ideal and made some small adjustments. It certainly wasn't something unpleasant. Even so, I felt like I was sullying her by looking at her like that. That's right. We're defiling this poor girl by imagining her as our daughter. She had an immaculate, no, divine air about her. Damn, this guy's simping for like an 8-year-old. The girl with an angelic smile, with a yawn wide enough you could see her molars, woke up all of a sudden. I didn't mean to peep, but locking eyes with a girl who just woke up like this somehow made me feel like I was playing a prank on her. I wasn't doing anything shady, but I became flustered, and the girl spoke. No, cried out. Meep. Meep. Meep? That's right, Meep. Like the character on the show with the puppets? Actually. I still kind of like the remakes, sprites. I like the remake sprites better, but they use the console versions in the background sometimes, because obviously we're using the console backgrounds, because the console backgrounds look way better. Yeah, that character on the show with the puppets, with the orange hair. I thought it was one of those greetings kids do. In order to prove I wasn't a suspicious person, I responded in kind. Meep. Can you just imagine that? You're like sleeping. You fell asleep at a bus stop. You're having a nap. You wake up and see some creepy dude staring at you, and you're like, eep! You're like, ah! And he's like, meep. Alright, interesting response, dude. Meep? She responds with meep? She's like, what? Meep. Meep. The girl stared at me dubiously with a doll-like expression. Cute, but cold and hard to read. Yeah, I'd be confused too. You wake up, make a noise of surprise, and the person responds by saying meep. And you're like, what? What, meep? And he's like, yeah, meep. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. There was, after all, an unfamiliar man right in front of her when she woke up who responded with meep when she said the same. Yeah, I'd be wondering what's going on. Suspicious. She definitely thought I was suspicious. Meep. Meep. What an interaction to start the day with. We were both at a loss for words. Or, well, the only one lost was me. The girl in front of me, as if inquiring about my motives, stared at me intently. In this silence, I felt like I was the one who had to say something first. You're being pressured by, like, an 8-year-old to talk. Damn it, this girl's better at interrogating people than Uishi. I'm not anyone suspicious. Nipa? Nipa? What could I have only described as a cold expression suddenly blossomed into a smile, one that soon infected me. You might be familiar with the term angelic smile. To me, it was like that phrase was created just to describe the smile she gave me. Alright, so we're getting Rika here. Maybe we won't act. Maybe this entire story is going to be about the Dam Project events. Since we're already getting Rika first thing into the city. The girl smiling while saying Nipa was probably wanted me to return the favor in kind. That's right, this is a kid's form of communication. Having the other person emulate what you did was a rudimentary form of mutual understanding. Nipa. Nipa. It was a beautiful afternoon in early summer. And what was I doing? Nipa. Well, whatever. This was interesting in its own way. If making someone happy with just a smile was the work of angels, this girl was definitely one of them. I couldn't help but pray my own child, who was soon to be born, would grow to be like this girl. That strangely gentle moment was finally brought to an end by the arrival of a car. An older person waved at me from the driver's seat, a dry smile plastered on their face. Hey there, good afternoon. Sorry for being late. You're the tourist you phoned yesterday, right? Yes. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm running a little behind because of the farm. Hop right in. Looks like the weather isn't going to hold up for much longer, so I'll show you around real quick. The weather? Changes fast around here. There'll probably be evening showers again today. If that happens, you won't be able to take any pictures. Oh my goodness, that was good. It's like I was like, there's no way she's here to escort him around the village, right? That'd be silly. No, she just showed up and he was like making dumb baby noises at her for 5 minutes. Not even remotely relevant to the story. Come on, get in, get in. Turning around, the girl was standing right behind me with an intrigued expression. Her body language reminded me of a stray cat that followed you around after you played with it a little, so damn charming. Well, if it isn't Rika-chama, praise be, praise be. A girl named Rika with an immaculate smile and an old man praising her while rubbing prayer beads in his hands. Only a little bit creepy. It was a rather mysterious sight to behold. But the girl turns her face at me, tilting her head a bit in a cutesy manner, and after seeing it, the elder introduced me as a tourist who came to sightsee Hinamizawa. A youngin' who came to the village for sightseeing. The girl, Rika, said with a smile as she clung to my arm. Well, yeah, I heard this village is surrounded by a precious nature reserve. I very much want to record it with my camera. Even though I look like this, I really like to take pictures. Tomitake Mark II. Tomitake? Huh? Makino, is it okay if I come along too? I could. You could come along, Rika, but there's nothing interesting to see. You should go play near the shrine or something. A distinctly displeased expression creeped across Rika's face. That is the meep of disapproval. The meep of disapproval has been cast. Being able to show one's emotions honestly on their faces was a privilege young children had. If it's not too much a problem, could you bring this child along with us? When I said those helpful words, another smile spread across Rika's face with another nipa as she clung to me again. Not bad at all. I want this girl to call me Papa. No, Father. Dad. Daddy. Well, what am I doing? Ever since I met this girl, I was completely off my game. Just calm down. Nothing I can do, I guess. Rika never listens, even if you say no. Come on, hop in. Come on now, Rika-chama too. The old man descended from the driver's seat and opened up the sliding door of the van. Had Onagafushi Alliance Town Council stenciled on the side. Rika-chan brushed me aside, dove into a seat, and began bouncing around right away. It seemed like she was thoroughly enjoying the bouncy springs. Come on now, Rika. If you're like that, our guest can't sit down. Hey, Rika! Girls are nice. I wonder if my child will play around like this too. No. It was written in the guide, to raising a child, you shouldn't dote on them. Kids are kids if you don't raise them strictly without spoiling them. It's soft and springy. I'm definitely going to be a terrible father. It was decided I'd be a doting parent before my child was even born. This man's literally responding with her saying nipa, a full sentence in nipa with nipa. Well then, sir, I'll show you around some places I think look nice. Have you eaten lunch yet? Yeah, I had a light meal at the hotel. Oh, is that so? Well, let's get going. We're setting off on a tour of Hinamizawa. Yay! Is it alright if I call you Rika-chan? Sure. My name's Rika Frude. I can already do addition to the 10 stitches. Oh, is that true? Amazing. I don't count on my fingers. I can do it all in my head. The way she insisted upon that was just too cute. At some point, the nervousness I had about being alone in enemy territory evaporated like it was never there at all. Rika, known as the legendary Siren. seducing someone at the age of what, 8? Trying to get the information out of them, of course. I had to be at least a little thankful I met this girl. Well, let's get going. It's time for Hinamizawa nature watching. The old man stepped on the gas with a great deal of gusto. The roads are very windy. I don't know how much gas you could really step on. Lots of pictures. Rika's photobombing a couple. You know, I wonder if the Sonozakis own the hotel. The old man, who was apparently named Makino, was he the same Makino that was listed as auditor of the Onigifuchi Guardians? He showed me around places that were all breathtaking. Even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing, I couldn't help but be impressed. First, this was different from the simple scenery of a city. The scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed to the villagers, had a tranquil appeal to it. At first, I was only releasing the shutter as part of my tourist act, but midway through I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. Tourist traps had their own unique allure to them, but there's nothing like that here. I think the Sonozakis own everything in Hinamizawa that's a business, and everything in the adjoining city, Shinomiya. I was especially captivated by the unspoiled nature of the place. If there wasn't that whole uproar over the dam, I'd want to bring Yuki with me here some other time. I wanted her to breathe in this fresh air as well as show her this rejuvenating, verdant scenery. Is something like this that interesting? You're a strange person, Akasaka. No, these cylindrical mailboxes are rare these days. He says, but there's no mailbox on screen. Wait, are these the red cylindrical mailboxes? They have a certain nostalgic air about them. You wouldn't think they're that elegant. Would you? Isn't Hinamizawa fun? Oh, yeah, it's fun. Once she's discharged from the hospital, I'd like to bring my wife here at least once. With a child that'd be born by that time. Right now, she's in the hospital waiting to give birth. She's due any day now. Oh no, he's giving away information. It'd be nice if they're a cute girl like you. That seems congratulations are to be in order. Still, that's not good. To leave your wife behind and play around in a place like this. I was momentarily at a loss for words. It was exactly how Makino said. There's no good reason for a man waiting for his wife to give birth to be playing around idly in this place. Did I slip up? Absolutely, my dear. Absolutely, my dude, you fucked up. Ah, well. We already planned this trip a long time ago. My wife's family's with her, so it's alright. If you planned this trip so far in advance... Oh no, he's asking questions. This guy's about as good at keeping his mouth shut as Keiichi is. Literally the first words out of his mouth give out the fact that he's here for work and not to tour it. Wah wah wah. Alright, if you plan this trip so far in advance... how come you didn't make the sign-up deadline for the nature watching? Oh man, dude, you're digging yourself a hole, much like Keiichi. If you did, you could have toured around on a nice bus instead of being cramped up here. It didn't seem like Makino was actually digging for anything, but if this conversation continued, it would put some unexpected holes in my cover. I held the conversation by pretending to take another picture. Well, for our last stop, I'll take you to the place with the best view. It was slightly before evening, the sun was still burning brightly, but a cool breeze began to mix itself into the air. It seemed my exploration of Hinamizawa with Rika was about to be done. I'm surprised they didn't go to the shrine grounds. The place with the best view? Well, Rika, where else could it be but the view from around the shrine? Hearing that, Rika smiled even more. Well then, I'll introduce you to my home, Akasaka. Huh? By Rika's home, you mean, huh? The shrine. Furude Shrine. There's an observation platform. You can see some real pretty scenery. Furude Shrine. The girl who called Furude Shrine her home, Rika. If I remember correctly, her full name is Rika Furude. And Furude was, that's right, one of the three families. Even if the Sonozaki family is said to hold all the actual power, it's still one of the old houses that holds some authority. More important was Furude Shrine. If I remember correctly, Uishi told me Within the grounds of the shrine were the offices of the Onigafuchi Guardians, and since the land around the shrine was private property, the police couldn't set foot in there heedlessly. The shrine, where even Ueshi couldn't simply set foot into. He's going beyond Ueshi on his first day. The main base of operations for the Guardians. I had been given the unexpected opportunity to enter there. I couldn't have asked for more. Looking forward to it. Please, if you would. Well then, let's get there quick. The weather seems to be getting a little iffy. The sky had suddenly become overcast. It wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. The cicadas, as if trying to finish their daily allotment of chirps before the evening, cried out even more fervently. Frickin' cicadas, those damn Higurashi, my man. They don't shut up. And when they do, it's always bad news. Only bad. If you can't hear the Higurashi, you or someone else is about to die. Or recently did. The van stopped in the shrine's parking lot. Also parked there were numerous other vans with loudspeakers mounted on top of them to act as makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the side of each vehicle was scrawled, "The dam project must be demolished. Defend our homeland to the last. No Oyashiro-sama's anger," or a slogan of a similar kind. They gave the feeling that even without using the loudspeakers, there was enough to overwhelm any onlooker. Vertical banners were erected in various places. The contents of those banners were similar. They were all objections against the dam or crude insults towards the government. There were horizontal banners, placards, and so on and so forth. They proclaimed without a doubt this was the headquarters of the Onigafuchi Guardians, but for Rika, however, this hectic place was also her home. I arrived. I'm home. Rika crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Makino noticed I was looking at the protest banners. The shrine also has the offices of the anti-dam movement. For you, this probably brings back memories of the anti-security treaty conflicts back in the day. Student movements against government policies, movements that bordered on terrorist activity. They were at one time commonplace, if only to garner global attention. Students holding out in lecture halls, brawling with the riot squads that charged in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. Slightly before my time. I'm not really an activist or anything. I studied without incident and graduated without it either. I don't really agree with the violence or occupations they use to protest the government's policies. Oh? You have quite the nice opinion there. If you have an opinion on a policy, vote for the candidate who shares your view, or enter the political world yourself and assert your beliefs in a lawful manner. You know, honestly, I like that opinion. I don't think it's practical, though. I don't know how you're supposed to actually get yourself into the political world without, like, ridiculous connections and fuck tons of money. A meep? A meep and a Nippon? You know, I bet I could find those from the anime. You know, I bet I could find Meep and Nippon from the anime and include them as sound redemptions. And I think I've watched enough. I've read enough Higurashi that if Rika said Meep or Nippon, I could probably find it without spoiling myself as to the contents of the visual novel. Since we're in like arc 4 at this point, like there's probably one of those lines in the first couple episodes. I'd hope at least. Omuchikari kawaii? Oh, I want to take it home. It's so cute. Okay. Omuchikari kawaii? That's probably, it's cute, I want to take it home. Yeah, we could probably get that one too. That's from Reina, right? That makes sense. Yeah, I don't actually think it's all that realistic if you like don't like how things are going to actually get a I don't know how realistic it is to actually get like an actual slot as a to get even on the placard for as an MP or MPP. Now I know you can register as a third party, but nobody actually votes. Nobody actually votes like the obscure party you've literally never heard of that's like, it's like, I don't know. I occasionally see people for like the Animal Protection Party or something, and I swear they just made it up. Or what else? I've seen the Communist Party, and it's like, they don't actually have seats. I've never seen them get seats. I assume it's just like 5 people in their basements spending 5 grand or whatever you need to apply. I don't feel like it's actually a realistic thing to like try to get yourself involved in politics just by wanting to be involved. As it's literally a popularity contest, and if you don't have fuck tons of money in the backing of a major party, it doesn't seem realistic that you're going to get in there, especially when you're competing against someone who has all those things and has the same platform as you. Like, okay, let's say I want to go to, let's say I want to get involved in politics. Okay, now obviously I can't. It doesn't wouldn't make sense, and I'd have literally no basis to run for the Liberal Party in a different district other than mine. So in my district, I'd have to I would have to beat the person who's currently there. And let's see. Yeah, I think liberals won, and then NDP won for the district because the NDP guy's been winning like 3 sessions in a row. Okay, this guy's like winning by a landslide 3 times in a row. I don't even know if it would be possible to also get. Yeah, yeah. No, we're talking politics because this is what our character just said. Insert yourself in the political world and assert your beliefs. And I'm like, the only way to get your beliefs heard is to actually be an MP, or is to actually be a representative. But actually becoming a representative requires an absurd amount of money, backing, and popularity above the other candidate for like the same party you have an opinion you would want to be in. So like, I would somehow have to beat out the representative for the party that is currently in office, who has the exact same like stance, quote unquote, like or like is in the same party that I would theoretically want to be in, right? And he's in one of the parties I would theoretically want to be in, which seems incredibly difficult because I've literally never seen 2 candidates for the same party on the ballot. I've never seen that. I've seen mayoral elections that don't have parties because it's for like, city council roles. But to actually get involved in real politics, I don't think you can actually have multiple representatives for a single party on the ballot, or even if you would actually be allowed to run as a member of that party on the ballot against someone else. So it'd be kind of weird, right? How would you ever get involved? Or have your voice heard? I guess you could open up your wallet and try to bribe the guy to vote your way like everyone else does, right? Like a major corporation. But I feel like as an individual, you don't realistically have an answer. You don't realistically have enough money for them to even give a shit about. Like, if someone accepts like if someone accepts $300,000 in stock to like go vote for big oil or some shit, or like lean favorably towards like oil corporations. How am I supposed to compete with that as an individual citizen? I can't really do that, right? Like $300,000 is more than I make in a year, so I can't even like influence a single vote. Seems like I don't really have a choice other than just praying that this idiot is doing whatever I would like them to do when they're really not. So I actually kind of disagree with this, having lived like a few more years and realized how much money you actually need to get involved in politics. Because again, you also, depending on your job, you need to be able to spend all that money and not get anything out of it, and work a full-time job, right? It just doesn't seem that. It doesn't seem all that viable. Because if you run in an election and don't have any money, and you need time and money, neither of which you have because you're working a full-time job, while the other guy's literal job is just to like run for office again. It seems like it's basically impossible to get in. Unless it's your full-time job Unless it's your full-time job or you're already retired. It doesn't seem possible. Anyway, that's the foundation of democracy, and it seems more like a foundation of capitalism. But, okay. I don't think that's something you should challenge with violence. I mean, I don't know if violence is the answer, but I feel like there could be a better solution to this. For a youngin', you have some fine beliefs. I saw that feeling of respect reflected in Makino's gaze. At that moment, something tugged at my sleeve. I have no idea what Akasa's saying? Rika-chan, feeling she was the only one who didn't understand the conversation, had a look of displeasure on her face. That expression was so charming, I had to keep myself from grinning like an idiot. It's often said that a father wants to spoil his daughter rotten, and I think I understood that feeling very well. Sorry, it was a little bit hard for Rika to understand, wasn't it? Japan's a peaceful country, so you gotta argue your point in a peaceful manner. You shouldn't resort to violence, in other words. No matter how much I explained, a girl who was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. It probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika anyway. So then, Akasaka, how do you think we should keep our village from being flooded by the dam? Even if I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. Here I was at the main headquarters of an organization telling them their way of doing things was illegal. I would say, you're getting paid by the government to move out, so I wouldn't sweat it. That'd be my answer. And I'd say... I would say that. Preaching that violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling mixed itself in with the respect in Makino's gaze. It was then that I realized it wasn't that simple. There wasn't a soul who'd argue what I was saying wasn't correct. Using violence to get your way was something everyone knew you shouldn't be proud of. Fair enough. Right now, Hinamizawa is in a predicament that couldn't be overcome by peaceful means alone. The legality of the dam project, through the efforts of various propaganda campaigns enacted by the Guardians, was being called into question. If they further strengthen their campaign, they might be able to suspend or change the construction plans. But that was, at the most, just a possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction as planned, it wouldn't be long before this place was at the bottom of a lake. If it wasn't for the unrestrained resistance of the residents, this place might already have been underwater. Can't live anywhere other than here. Oh, why can't you? What's wrong with this place? What's wrong with this place, Rana? Or Rika? You can live anywhere. You can live anywhere you want to in Japan. I don't see why you have an attachment to this particular place. It's just a building. That's just a shrine. There will be other temples. There are other there could be and will be other temples at other times. There are other small villages. There are other places to live. This is not the only house you can ever possess. In fact, I don't even own a house, so you know, I don't even own a house, so like I can't really give a shit. We can't live in the city, you know. Yeah, why can't you? The words of this remarkably young girl were too accurate, carrying with them the screams of the hearts and minds of the residents of Hinamizawa. Why can't you live in the city? Why can't you? What's wrong with living in the city? What's stopping you from living there? Isn't the government paying you a shit ton of money for this? Fairly handsomely too, if I recall. I feel like, saying I don't want to live in the city, or I need to live in this particular house is kind of stupid. Houses are physical objects, and you can move literally everything, including the fucking bricks of the walls, or the foundation if you really want to, with enough money. Like, if you wanted to vomit enough money, you could literally uplift this entire shrine brick by brick and relocate it somewhere else. It's not unrealistic. That's actually what they've done for a lot of... That's what both the Brits and the Germans have done with some Roman historical stuff from Egypt. And I think a little bit in Italy. They've actually literally taken, like, entire structures, disassembled them brick by brick, reassembled them in another country. To be like, well, we have an entire gatehouse here, and you're like, you have a gatehouse from two countries, from like half a continent over here. Yeah, we just, you know, took all the pieces, rebuilt it, voila, put it in a museum. Seems doable. If that's doable, you can surely do that for the shrine if it's that important. If the individual components of the shrine are that important, you can do that. If it's not the stuff, or the land value, then I don't know why you care to live in the area. Like, maybe you don't want to move because you like the stuff, you can move the stuff. Maybe you don't want to because you have the land value. Okay, that's fair. If you're the Sonozakis and you literally just want shit tons of power in the area and being able to do whatever the fuck you want, including murdering as many people as you want to every year, I mean, I don't think you should have that power in the first place, so go fuck yourself. Like, Mion, fuck you. Like, yep. Those are like their only excuses, right? We fear the loss of our absolute control over the region. We want the stuff. Or we want the land value. I don't know. I don't get why they'd care too much. I can only respond to Makino and Rika's heavy words of silence. Our character clearly doesn't feel that way but he's in the moment. It's easier for me to say these things because I'm not in the moment and I'm not feeling pressured by the two individuals there giving me sad faces. Maybe if I was in the moment, I'd be like, and be quiet too. But since I'm here and I'm able to comment and criticize comfortably from the safety of my home, I'll just say that. I'm sorry. This isn't a problem an outsider should lightly poke their nose into, is it? I apologize. Makino, unsure of how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly. It's nothing that concerns guests to make their home somewhere else. If you enjoy it here, please tell all your friends that Hinamizawa is a wonderful place, please. Word spreads to dozens, maybe even hundreds. That ridiculous plan to submerge this place at the foot of a dam will eventually fall apart. He followed that with a smile that said, please don't think much of it. Makino, not letting me worry that much, was really a stroke of good fortune. Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with a little girl had made me completely forget my apprehension of being in enemy territory. I mean, Rika could be a plant here. Don't forget that Mion is only like 2 years older than her and is responsible for the kidnapping and possibly the murders. So, Rika is probably in on all of this and is like intentionally a plant to sway people emotionally. Being reminded of this right before I was going to step foot into their headquarters might have been a good thing. If we'd had this exchange in the middle of their office, if there was a short-tempered youth in there, they might have come at me. Speaking of how extreme they were, in the worst case, my life could have been in danger. It seemed I looked quite despondent at that moment. Makino, thinking he said something wrong, became flustered, trying to think of a way to improve my mood. I was a bit careless now. I'm sorry. No, don't worry that much about it. The sights you showed me around the village are all beautiful. Wonderful places. I really do want to come here one more time. If this beautiful village is going to be submerged at the bottom of the lake, well, I can understand why you'd fight so desperately. That's a very nice political statement. I somehow managed to use my despondent look to change the topic in my favor. After a bit, Makino returned to his usual high spirits. It seemed he believed I completely sympathized with his point of view. I mean, I can sympathize with wanting many things. Now, let's leave the talk at that for now. There's a place around here with a really great view. I mean, the shrine itself probably is good for a couple pictures, right? I like the shrine architecture is kind of cool. Like, if we edit out Rika, because Rika's not our character. Well, you know, our character kind of likes Rika, but if we edit her out of the picture, I feel like it would be a decent picture in the first place, right? Like, you have this rope and these ritual hangings and like some shrine, like this gate here, and then like the shrines behind it. I think that would look cool, right? Be a nice picture. You'd be like, hey, look, check out this place I visited. It's got this nice shrine, blah, blah, blah. People like pictures of shrines. I think that's reasonable. Rika, seemingly happy to be free of the boring and gloomy adult talk, bounded up the stone steps. There was no real need to run, but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected on the shrine grounds. Inside the tents were folding tables and chairs, and a number of the town council members were livening things up with chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incendiary like the damn project must be destroyed. It was some relaxed, idle chit-chat between local geezers. The normal sort of calming scenery. At the entrance of a shed that looked like a meeting place, there was a large sign erected. I said shrine. I said shine? What? Large sign erected with Onigafushi Guardian's headquarters written in bold brush strokes. That's their base of operations, and to be honest, it's a bit of a letdown. If you asked what I'd been imagining, this is embarrassing, but I thought it'd be more dramatic. With barbed wire, fences, and barricades. My first impression, though, was completely different from that. It looked like a simple backwater town hall. It didn't look like anything other than exactly that. The old folks who were chatting noticed Rika's presence. Well, isn't it, Rika-chama? It's time for little kids to head on home. This is my home. The old folks guffawed, since she wasn't wrong. From that exchange, I could tell this Rika was loved by everyone. Ooh, a new sprite for someone we've never seen before. Makino-san, who's that? The tourist who phoned? That's right. This is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Mayor Kimiyoshi. Kimiyoshi, aka the guy who's died in the last 2 routes, showed up. Thankfully, we know he's probably not dead for the next 5 years. Or 6, I think. He'll live at least 5 years. He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking he would be scared if he got angry. By the looks of things, this old man was the president of the Guardians, none other than Kichiro Kimiyoshi himself. Welcome to Hinamizawa, what do you think? It's a quiet, relaxing place, isn't it? Okay. Okay, budget Deckard Kane. I was able to appreciate a multitude of beautiful places throughout the whole day. Thank you. I'm thankful for being granted this rare opportunity. Even though you're one of those youngins, you're quite the gentleman. Kichiro, I want to show Akasaka a cool place. Thinking the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for too long, Rika butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by his first name, I felt it was a little strange, but none of the villagers seemed to mind. A girl of the Furude household, one of the 3 families, she is probably different from the average villager. The lowly peasants. Akasaka, over here. Rika tugged at my sleeve. I almost read that as cheek. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over, and waiting for me was a magnificent view. Of the whole town? Oh, it's this shot. Okay. Judging by the flooding in some areas, they're still growing rice. This is amazing. It was an observation deck that looked down on the village. Oh, look, you can see at the very bottom there. That might be the shrine gate? Huh. They, knowing this is the best view in the entire village, kept quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera, but completely forgot to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, wouldn't be able to show everything. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be what I would be able to put into words. It was just a breathtakingly spectacular view. I struggled to find a comparison. For a while, I was left awestruck, and I could only stand there and wonder. Oh, this place is beautiful. A cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. That comfortable sensation also left me speechless. Rika, who'd been holding my sleeve the entire time, spoke. This is my favorite spot. As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. The smile seemed fleeting. If you ask why, it's because the view from her favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir. I, for one, want them to bury the shrine. I can't believe this village is going to end up at the bottom of a lake. I said it quietly so that only Rika could hear it. I regretted it as soon as I did, for those words were all too cruel. However, Rika didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a smile. It won't sink. The damn project will definitely go away. It was just like a little girl to say something like that. There was no basis for her saying so. It was just her wish. Well, I mean, if you take the Minister of Construction and his family hostage, you can probably get a lot accomplished. Akasaka, do you think this village will be submerged? It's not that I want it to be. I knew how important the dam was. I knew it was necessary. I just didn't want to recognize the sacrifices that would be made. It's okay, it's okay. We cannot make dams, and Japan can rely on importing coal and oil for the rest of its existence. That's fine too. That's fine too. I agreed with the project in general, but couldn't agree with some of the details. It's okay, Japan doesn't need to go into renewable energy sources. Coal and oil forever seems like an okay plan. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery wouldn't be taken away from her, I might be able to object to the dam. I might be able to ignore the interests of the nation, the development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. That's right, you can do that if you want to. It would be a huge long-term mistake to not inconvenience 1,000 people for the sake of making every single person in Japan's life better for centuries to come. That's fine. I'm not really much of a humanist, but it's convenience. It's not even any actual... There's no lives at stake. There's no lives at stake. It's just a house. It won't be submerged, because the dam project will soon go away. Her words weren't hopes and dreams, but were seasoned with a hint of resolve, as if she was talking about an unchangeable, predetermined course. As surely as the sun rising in the east, it'll be gone soon. Wanting to ask why she believed that, I turned around. Yes, it'll be gone. What makes you say that? Well, you see... She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say. Regardless of what Akasaka does, the dam project will end this year. It's already been decided. That was a lie. If something like that had been decided, the Onigafuchi Guardians would have no reason to continue existing. From my POV, it was like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. I mean, she literally said, I already know the things are going to be cancelled this year. Shouldn't that be a red flag when there's, like, people being taken hostage? But anyway. If they knew the dam project was cancelled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. This village, though, it could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the atmosphere was at the checkpoint or at the bus stop. The villagers with their misplaced resolve were still fighting, and this girl, knowing the villagers' resolve, had already declared their victory? The villagers throwing themselves into this endless war, and this optimistic girl who said they already won? The contrast was somewhat strange. Why do you think that? If you know something that makes you that confident, could you tell me? Rika stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say. Because? She looked like she was lost on whether she could continue or not. As if she was troubled on whether or not it was okay for her to say it, that kind of expression. It's already been decided. There's no other way to say it. It's already been decided, huh? It really is like a little girl to say something like that. I couldn't believe if it was actually true. She was the only one saying things with such confidence. My real mission, that I had forgotten about during this fun-filled day, resurfaced at the back of my mind. The kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Had the Guardians kidnapped the minister's grandson and already succeeded in negotiating the cancellation of the dam project? Did Kimiyoshi actually already know that? Was he just playing dumb? Well, was that what this girl was really telling me? Akasaka. Girl called out my name suddenly. What is it? Go back to Tokyo. I wasn't only surprised at the sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I'd never once mentioned I was from Tokyo. Well, based on my accent, she might have been able to guess where I was from. What was I getting so worked up over? It was probably the sudden and complete change in her demeanor. You should definitely go back to Tokyo right now. Wait, if not, you will woefully regret it. The girl had been holding my sleeve the entire time. She'd been tugging at my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over to show me this wonderful view. But this was the adorable Rika I'd spent the entire day with. There's no way she could have been replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She'd been holding my sleeve this entire time, but somehow this girl was someone other than Rika. She looked like Rika, but she wasn't. It was some girl I'd never met before. The girl told me in an indifferent voice that I would eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart. That would be an incredibly pathetic thing to see. So I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I come to regret it? Stop whining. I couldn't believe I was hearing such cold words from Rika's mouth. I couldn't believe it! Was somebody impersonating her using ventriloquism or something? Thinking that, I wanted to take a look around, but the girl's gaze had me pinned, making me unable to move. When you tried crossing the road, when the don't walk sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? They'd pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. The girl I had spent time with, Rika Furude, would not speak like that. Her voice changes hard for the Japanese dubs. She goes from Nipa to adult woman like that. She would speak with a cuteness befitting her age, with brief, childish remarks expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words. I've warned you. Don't get the wrong idea. It's not like I'm saying it's because I hate you. You don't need to tell someone who's better off dead they're in danger. Who are you? You're not Rika. Hmm? As soon as I accused her of not being Rika, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. It was a laugh not befitting a child of her age. It was like she was possessed by something. Her change was just that, total and complete. Was Rika being attacked by some terrifying phenomenon? An occult idea came to mind without any sort of hesitation. Rika is acting strange. Somebody? Help? Thinking I'd yelled it, I turned to where the mayor was, and realized he was looking at us with a smile. That's right. To him, it looked like nothing more than me and Rika fooling around. He didn't notice there was something terrifying happening to her. Akasaka is such a coward. The girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. Noticing that and calling me a coward, she laughed again. The cackling girl, approaching in a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance and fell flat on her face. Rika fell down. If it was just a while before, I would have extended a hand to help her without hesitation. But now, extending a hand to this ominous girl who looked like Rika, but wasn't, required more courage than I had at the moment. Meep. The girl cried out thus, Meep. Meep. She squirmed upright and dusted herself off. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept across her face. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Was she making fun of me? That way of acting, though. It was though, after being possessed by something, she lost her memories of what happened. You're joking, right, Rika? I don't know if Rika had heard me or not. She just cried out like that as if questioning herself. Hey mister. Rika Shima, too. Tea's ready. There's some snacks, too. Please come have some. An old lady wearing a smock was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Okay. Hearing there were snacks, Rika's expression changed. Yay! A carefree smile. That was a familiar smile, one that belonged to the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of the creepy girl that was just there, spouting sinister words, had vanished. Come on, Rika. Wash your hands first. There aren't any Manchu here for dirty hands. I'll wash them real good. Alright. Meep. Rika responded with vigor, running off to the washing station along the side of the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call to me. If Akasaka doesn't hurry, I'll eat his share of the manju too. They're steaming fresh. People who don't wash their hands aren't allowed to eat manju. No matter how you looked at it, that was Rika. Those words and the way she said them, no matter how you heard them, they're definitely Rika's. Come on now, mister. You're the adult here. Show her how it's done. The old lady encouraged me to wash my hands. Without resistance, I lined up beside Rika at the wash station. Splish, splash. I stared at Rika, intent on washing her hands properly, like she'd probably learned at school. Me? Did I do something wrong? By wrong, you mean how I'm washing my hands? I only got 4 gold stickers for it. I'm probably bad at washing my hands. 4 gold stickers? I've never gotten any gold stickers. You're not doing anything wrong. If you're washing them that carefully, that's more than enough. It's not, Akasaka. If you don't use a brush and clean out the dirt underneath your fingernails, you won't get a gold sticker. Seriously? Aha, Rika. You're very diligent. That's something to be proud of. Oh, I was praised by Akasaka. No matter how you look at it, it's Rika-chan. There's no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was that sinister girl? Rika, what was the meaning of what just happened now? Just now, you told me to go back to Tokyo, didn't you? Did I say that? I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what the girl just now had said. Like I'd ever believe something as occult as that could happen. Like I'd ever believe Rika could be possessed by that strange girl and say those creepy things. Rika, you definitely said that. Her expression told me that. Despite my saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb. She actually didn't know. Exactly what was that right now? Just as Rika had, I let a look of confusion creep across my face. The two of us, both looking like we had no idea what was going on, must have certainly been a humorous sight to behold. Meep. I should just add meeps in randomly. While partaking of tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Guardians highlighting their resistance efforts. Older folks talked passionately about how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed by Rika, who had heard these stories countless times before and was nodding off. Eventually, Rika noticed I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That was Rika's smile, after all. There was no hint of that sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika lessened with the passing of time, but I could by no means forget what happened. That's right, Rika's been possessed by the spirit of Oyashiro-sama. I, for one, am 100% in favor of the dam. Build the dam, drown Oyashiro-sama with the force of nature and whatever god of the ocean and mountains they believe in. For surely the god of the ocean or god of water is more powerful than the god of a fucking village. Or god of nature. Let's go with that one too. It eventually grew dark. The mayor said they'd prepared dinner, but I said I'd come again tomorrow and took my leave. Or the god of storms, the one who brings the rain that will fill the basin. I had to return to the hotel and file my regular report with the section chief. The mayor said they'd prepared dinner. I said I'd come tomorrow. Alright. I see. Well then, please come again tomorrow. If you phone, we'll send someone to pick you up right away. I appreciate the hospitality. I'll probably come again and enjoy myself tomorrow. But please do. It seems Rika's taken quite a big liking to you. Akasaka, are you coming again tomorrow? I finish after 5th period, so if you come around 3, it'd make me happy. Please come again. That pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't a trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, it all may end up as nothing other than my hallucination. Thinking about it logically, if the daughter of the Furude, one of the 3 families, had taken a liking to me, this is a strong foothold for my investigation from here on out. It's like a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamizawa. If only I could treat that incident as a figment of my imagination, then having this girl who was the embodiment of my ideal daughter grow so attached to me wasn't too bad either. This guy's really into Rika, almost uncomfortably so. I had successfully dove into the belly of the Onigafushi Guardians and had the mayor, as well as other open members of the Alliance, welcome me with open arms. It was a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I forced down an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. If you need booze to clear your mind, you've clearly had too much of a rough day. The guy should probably take the day off. The shock from that incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me. Either that or he has an alcohol problem. It might be that. You might have a drinking problem. Might need to go to AA. Is this ending the chapter? I feel like this could end the chapter. About an hour and a half in. That seems about like one chapter's length. Yep. Alright, new tips. 3 new tips. Going smoothly. The sound of the car grew closer, followed by the sound of it braking as the engine cut out. At that moment, his up until now lackadaisical footsteps grew decisive as the man in the room dashed up to the wall beside the window and carefully peered outside. It was his comrade's car. Even so, he still didn't relax his guard. Eventually, the sound of footsteps approached the door. Thump, 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 thump. It was the passcode. I'm back. Open the door already. Ha, you must be tired. I'm opening it now. After the locks were undone and the door opened, a man appeared, his arms laden with swollen plastic grocery bags. The bags in his hands had Sevens Mart written on them with bread and milk cartons able to be glimpsed within. The contents were spread out over a sheet on the floor. I bought some cup noodles, so go boil some water. What's the kid doing? He's been sleeping the entire time. Thank God he's not causing trouble. He did struggle a bit when he was about to shit himself. Don't let him crap his pants. It'd suck if he started smelling like an outhouse in here. Yeah, I know. Check the gag every now and then. We don't want it to get loose, so keep it tight. Not so tight he stopped breathing. I said I know. Didn't I ask you to pick up another can of gas for the portable stove? Bro. You never asked, idiot. Seriously? Come on. Damn it. He rattled the portable stove as he struggled to get it to light. Seeing that, the man who went to buy supplies let out a deep sigh. And with a backwards glance at the sight, began to walk to the corner of the room. The kidnapped boy was sprawled out on a sheet that was spread out on the floor. Boy, you doing alright? Of course, the man didn't assume the kid was able to hear that question. That was because the boy's ears were plugged, with his eyes and ears thoroughly covered by packing tape. His mouth was gagged with a thin, twisted-up towel. Because of that, the boy was unable to close his mouth properly, his cheeks sticky with his own saliva. Of course, that's not the only reason. Both his arms were tied tightly behind his back with a leather belt. You seem to be doing alright. Well, at least you're not going to die. If your grandpa wanted to play tough, we might have had to lop off an ear. It'd be great if we don't have to. If the main family says we do, though, tough luck. Can't even imagine what kind of cruel things they'd have us do. Family says not one scratch, though, so it seems like it's going well for the time being. The minister is discreetly withdrawing the dam project. Hinamizawa Dam is indefinitely postponed. I wonder when we're letting the boy go. I just want to be done with this already. Main family seems to be gauging the time, and I don't know when it'll be, but probably soon. Isn't that great, kid? You'll get let go real soon. The man didn't know if their voices were heard. For him, there was nothing he could do but continue to sleep to escape his harsh reality. More importantly, what are we going to do about the gas? We can't eat the cup noodles raw. For the gas? Say something, jeez. The only good news about this is that Mion dies from a gas explosion in the previous route. So don't be too mad about these guys. All the perpetrators died, unfortunately peacefully, but they died all the same. It's easy to take the kidnapping lightly, because you know it's in the past, and you know that as of the last route, all of them died via sulfur dioxide poisoning. And the route before that, Mion fell to her death in a well. I mean, she came back as a ghost, but she's still dead. And all her horrible crimes were discovered, so... The weather forecast predicted it wouldn't rain all week. It's not that I hate sunny days or anything. Whenever a day is the same, unchanging, sweaty weather, however, anyone would wait or long for a rain cloud or two. If it's simply clear skies for a week, a month, a year, anybody would long for rain clouds. The weather specialist said they'd carefully scrutinized a large quantity of past data, so it wouldn't be likely for the forecast to be wrong. I knew as much. But even then, there was occasionally a day where I was hoping it could be wrong, as I stared up into a clear blue sky. Was I being mischievous in hoping so? I waited and waited, feeling almost suffocated by the boring blue sky, undisturbed by a single cloud. And if you could die from that suffocating feeling, the population of Earth, well, it wouldn't have increased to this point if you could. In other words, the only person being suffocated by this was me. And so, I welcomed summer evenings, where not even the weather forecast could predict a sudden shower. If I were to explain it like this, you'd understand a bit more about how I feel. Let's say tonight's dinner is going to be curry rice. Oh, we're in the big house now. This is Keiichi's house. When you're called down to the dinner table, what's waiting for you was instead eggplant and bell pepper stir fry. Pepper bell, that doesn't even make sense. This is just on your mother's whim, by the way. I'd be delighted by such whimsy. Would you? I don't know. I think I'd like curry better than a eggplant stir fry. I don't really like eggplants or bell peppers, but still I'd be delighted. The fact that the pre-established routine of curry rice had been broken would be amusing. No, can we have curry? I'd like some curry now. If tonight was repeated 100 times and 100 times you had to eat curry rice. Yet for this one night that was changed
To an eggplant and bill for stir fry. Okay, maybe if I was forced to eat 100 days of curry, I'd probably go for something else. That's fair. You know, that one I can get behind. There's no way you wouldn't enjoy that chance happening. I hate pre-established routines. I hate when things are all decided beforehand. I have no love for boredom. I always get my hopes up that something today will be different from yesterday, no matter how trivial. It's been decided this whole week today is going to be clear skies. The weather forecast decided, so the god of weather must also feel obliged to do so. But who's to say a rain cloud may not show up one day on a whim? It's something nobody can say for sure, because that thought remains in this world. A creature such as myself can continue living without being suffocated. Tomorrow will probably be a hot and clear day, but I'm the only one who knows that predetermined fate, even with a slim 1% chance, sometimes changes. Hoping for that 1%, I hung upside down weather charms on my sunlit eaves troughs. In the end, I spend my days waiting for the unexpected things in life to occur. I pondered why I hoped for it, why I was hoping for a rain cloud. The answer is simple. I've had my fill of clear skies. And why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer is simple. It was going to be sunny tomorrow. In fact, that fact was boring. Why was I hoping for rain? In the end, well, it doesn't matter whether it rains or shines tomorrow. Basically, it's just the rain would water your heart, which was withered from boredom. Why, rather than a TV drama where the plot's been decided, I'd prefer to look up at the sky. The unknown, mysterious, a realm where anything can happen. So, Twitch streaming, right? Twitch streaming. Your blood pressure's improved. For you to recover this quickly at your age, I'm rather impressed. How's it going, coach? They're making use of his sprite. They introduced this in the last game. You didn't have one in the previous two? At this rate, you'll be kicking after a couple hundred more years, or you son. The young doctor in his medical coat said that as he undid the blood pressure cup from the arm of the old woman tucked away in her futon. You're a very good physician, Dr. Erie. If a persistent old fart like me doesn't hurry up and die, I'll just be in the way of you young folk. Ho ho. The old lady Oryu laughed with a broad smile on her face. Oryu Sonozaki? Then, turning towards the sliding door, she called out in a strong voice. Is Shimiko or Taiko-san there? Bring some tea for Dr. Erie. The sound of rushed footsteps from the hallway drew closer until finally the door slid smoothly open. What it revealed was a young girl. It looked like the old lady's granddaughter. Hey, it's Mion. Shimiko already left for the day. Do you need something? Yeah, I'll make barley tea for Dr. Erie. Okay, got it. Did you want some too, Granny? Or would black tea be better? Want lots of milk and sugar? I'll measure it out myself. You don't have to put any in. Just bring the sugar jar and some milk when you bring the tea. Okay. And the girl named Mion, after giving a rather uninterested response to her taskmaster of a grandmother, returned to the hallway. Put the doctor's tea in cups for the guests. Make sure you bring a coaster, too. Make sure to dry the outside of the glass, okay? Yeah. You're such a fussy pants. A tired voice wafted a reply from down the hallway. The apathetic tone of voice was far from unusual. The old lady let a wry smile slip across her face as she chided the girl. That girl just won't learn. Nothing I ever scold her about sticks. Now, or you don't have to say that. Mion's doing her best in her own way, even though she's so young. Her mother was the same way. Couldn't teach her anything. Apple does not far fall from the tree. So her mother's mother must be exactly the same, no? The old lady burst out laughing. Her expression showed she hadn't taken the comment the wrong way. Dr. Erie, I'm sorry, could you open the doors for me? It seems there's a nice cool breeze outside. The cool chirping of the Higurashi had at some point started leaking through the gap in the doorway. Erie stood up and opened the door a bit. A refreshing breeze pushed out the stale air that had built up in the room. It's gotten fairly hot during the day, but the evenings are still rather cool, aren't they? The best thing about summer is when the evenings are cooler, and you can actually enjoy them. Hot summers are not comfortable, but the evenings are okay. Yeah, those types of mornings and evenings are another one of Hinamizawa's fine points. Iri replied with a smile as he returned to sit on the cushion beside the old lady. And then the two of them, for a little while, soaked in the voices of the Higurashi. I'm gonna try and live to 100. Until the visitors for the day have properly finished, I ain't kicking the bucket just yet. To get the government to withdraw a decision they've made is a fairly difficult thing to do. The way this country does things is like turning a millstone. A heavy one at that. A millstone? Don't you know? Millstone. Iri quickly affirmed, of course she knew what the old lady was talking about. For he knew full well that Oryu didn't like having her stories interrupted. This millstone, see, can grind anything to a pulp. It's rather impressive. But yet, you see, it doesn't turn that easy because it's a rather heavy millstone. Lots of people gotta work in unison to get it to even budge. It's that type of millstone. Iri pursed his lips, listening quietly to what she was saying. Eventually, Mion returned with some tea laid out on a tray. Seeing that Oryu was talking and in a good mood, she quietly knelt down and laid out the sets for the barley and black tea, careful not to interrupt. That's why when it gets going, it's not easy to stop. It takes the most effort to move it right before it starts turning. Everybody hates that, so everyone keeps pushing it along without rest. Oh, you're talking about friction, right? I get what you're saying. So in other words, if there's a mistake and the millstone stops turning, to get it turning again takes a great deal of power, more or less. Certainly, to get a project that's been suspended going again takes a lot of work. It's a millstone that isn't easily stopped. But once it's stopped, it'll never turn again. It's that kind of millstone. It'd be nice if there was some way to get that millstone to stop, wouldn't it? When Iri responded with that, Mion and the old lady suddenly sunk into silence. Iri, instinctively thinking he said something wrong, searched in a small panic for words to correct himself, but the silence wasn't the result of rude words. What crept across Mion and the old lady's faces were contemptuous smiles. Of course. The atmosphere surrounding Iri suddenly froze, leaving him flabbergasted. Thinking the scornful smiles creeping across both their faces were the result of a mistake, he could only grow more afraid. It hadn't been that long at all since he was enveloped by silence. However, unable to stand it, he could only let out a weak laugh. Iri's laugh eventually spread to Mion and the old lady. Not knowing what they were laughing at, their laughter left a lingering chill. He's laughing because it's awkward. They're laughing because all they have to do is kidnap someone. All they have to do is hold a few people hostage and they can get whatever they want done in the country. The only ones not laughing were the Higurashi, who continued their simple and unchanging chorus. Yet another reminder. They're both clearly in on this. They're both clearly in on the kidnapping plot, and probably some of the murders, but you know. No big deal. No big deal. Just some casual murder, and you know what? Looking at this save load screen, I gotta ask myself, really? 10 pages? 10 pages and 3 quick save slots. That's more. There are what, 10 saves per page? There's 100 saves possible. Remember, there's only 12 chapters of this, and you get a new set of saves every single game. That seems like major overkill. Maybe if you're making a cut down YouTube video where you need like 100 clips from each game, maybe. Like you're doing a video essay or some shit, maybe. But even then, I don't think. It feels like 100 is overkill. Feels like 100 is overkill, but hey. If it's easier to just give people an arbitrary amount and never have to worry about it because it's not actually allocating the memory to those slots, it doesn't really matter. Not that the memory for these slots would matter, because it's probably just checking for a flag in the text, right? The visual novel, you just skip to a certain scene. This one's perfectly linear too, so they don't need to like have any other. They don't need to have any like conditional flags in the saves, in the save state or anything. It should be like start on line X, which is generally how it goes. The phone suddenly rang, and it's ringing a lot, loudly. I assure you that's in-game and not my actual phone. I woke up in a hurry. The clock read 9 p.m. Damn it. I slept past the time I was supposed to report in. I picked up the receiver. Akasaka-sama. You have a call from an outside line. Shall I connect you? It's from a coworker named Kano-sama. I knew it. I didn't call in, so they phoned me. Sorry, please put them through. Understood. I'll connect you. Please hang in. Please hang up the receiver for the time being. Okay. After I put down the receiver for a few seconds, the phone began ringing again. Ring, ring. Yes, hello? This is Akasaka. This is why you don't get wasted when you have work in the evening, by the way. This cunning man, this intelligent living being decided that after going into town while waiting to resume work at like 8 or 9 p.m., he would have a few beers. I don't know what part of getting drunk before work is. It sounds like a good idea, but here this man is starting a family and literally can't control his liquor consumption. I feel like this guy's going to be a terrible father. This is the kind of guy. This is the drunk. This is the stereotypical drunk already in formation, right? We're seeing it. He's already getting like so drunk he can't even function after work. It's not a good start, my dude. Don't go down this path. Akasaka-kun? This is Kano. Good work out there. You didn't call in for a regular report, so we called instead. What's your situation? Leaving the lecture for later, my senior coworker got straight to the point. Today I went to the village proper. Under the guise of a tourist, I managed to establish contact with the mayor and several other core members of the Guardians. I wasn't able to ask them anything, but I left a good impression and was able to make a bridge for my investigation from tomorrow onwards. I see. It looks like things are going smoothly. Akasaka, you seem rather naive sometimes, that it might have worked in your favor. I guess you made some good progress for now? I don't have the experience to make a comparison. I don't know if it's good or not. I think things went well for today, though. Did you find out anything from the prefecture or local offices? Does it look as though the Guardians are unrelated to the incident? I still didn't know. I should have been able to say that immediately. I only had to say that for some reason. I hesitated. I'm still investigating, so I don't know what to say yet. I see. Could you let us know as soon as possible? I think you understand, but after tonight, it'll have been a full 4 days since the kidnapping happened. They didn't set a time limit, but it's obvious time is not on our side. I mean, he should say the simple thing. It's not. I can't prove if they're attached to you or not. I think you know that. Yeah, I know. I'll investigate a little quicker while being careful about it. Okay. Be sure to look after yourself. You're dealing with a violent organization here. It might be dangerous to let your guard down. If you feel you're in danger, please contact me immediately. In that case, I'll get the local public safety office prepared to help. Thanks. I'll do my best. Anything else to report? I reported several bits of supplementary information. At the very end, I decided to ask, how's the investigation on your end? Everybody's doing their best, but we're not making much progress. The number of organizations we're investigating is huge. If you find out you're investigating is in the clear, we'll have you return to Tokyo to assist some of the other offices. Chief's saying to dig up what you can on Onigafuchi, but I don't think a residential anti-dam protest group has any relation to the incident at hand. Sending somebody out to just investigate a single group makes me cringe, really. At this point, he was just complaining. Okay, let's provide some useful information. We're a police officer. Let's say, okay, this incident is being funded by the mob. This incident's being funded by the mob. Or the Yakuza. And there's been violent clashes and blockades. going into town every single day. Or at the very least, just say something like, I know this is being supported by the leader of the residential protests are the fucking Yakuza, man. If they want this protest to go on, it's gonna fucking go on. And if they want to take someone hostage from Tokyo, the Yakuza have reach nationwide, so it's not impossible. It's not like they're isolated to this village. He's telling me to stop taking my time enjoying my trip, to finish up and get back quick. I'll try and resolve this as soon as I can. Thanks, I'm counting on you. Well then, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Alright, that's all I got. As if we were ending our call, he scolded me thoroughly for being late with my regular report. After that, I hung up the phone and sprawled out on the bed. Come to think of it, I hadn't heard anything from Uishi. He was supposed to contact me about a time and place to meet the informant tonight. I thought about getting angry with him in retaliation for the scolding about my report. Come to think of it, he didn't say anything other than that he was going to call tonight. Waiting for a phone call when you didn't know what time it was going to come in was rather difficult. He might be calling Satoko's family. He's calling Satoko's family, right? Just when I thought that, the phone rang. I picked up the receiver in a hurry. Hello? Well, this is a surprise. Akasaka, you're pretty quick to answer the phone. Are you a regular user of dating chat lines or something? Who? I'd never try something seedy like that. The way you overact, it's rather interesting. This is Uishi for sure. Want to go to a place where we can have a bit of lewd fun? I'll pass. Please get to the point, Uishi. Really? Well, too bad. We'll leave that for next time then. Oh, I'll get to the point. I just want to stop for a second. I think we said we only knew Uishi for 3 days. Day 1, we met him, is today. Day 2 is tomorrow. 3rd day is going to be the day after. We won't see him again. At least this character won't see him again. Which means he'll be out in 3 days. Many of the executives in the Onigafuchi Guardians had a lot of sway in the neighboring regions. Even in Okinomiya, there were a lot of people with relations in the village. That's why meeting in the Shishibone Market District, far from Okinomiya, was a matter of course. Akasaka, over here. You got a little lost. Coming from the north entrance might have been a bit of a detour, but it was easier to give directions from there. No, I'm sorry for being late. Ew, directions without Google Maps. Suffering, that's what it is. Did you eat dinner already? Yeah, I already did. Remember, this guy's got to navigate an unfamiliar city with like a literal map, a literal city map, and like verbal directions, and he doesn't have an assistant or Google Maps or anything. It's a huge pain. I've done it before I had a phone with data or a GPS. It was not fun. Not fun at all, I tell you. When you're like, I think I'm going this way, I think the route was this way on an actual map. Hopefully the map's not too out of date. Should we go to a place where we can get a drink? Do you prefer Western alcohol or maybe sake? Would you prefer a place with or without women? Don't worry about it. I don't drink while I'm on the job. Hearing that, the man Uishi had brought along bent backwards as he guffawed, clapping Uishi on the shoulder. See? Isn't he just adorable? In exchange, can you give him a bit extra? That money all came from this guy's wallet, you know. The man Uishi brought seemed almost like a ticket scalper or a bookie. Even his appearance was dubious. The informant grinned deviously. Hey boy, how much you give this guy? Looks like there's quite a bit skimmed off the top, you know. Uishi's handling fee was included. I took that into account. It seemed the informant expected a more extravagant reaction on my part. When I responded matter-of-factly, he realized I was an entirely different type of person than he was. Rather than putting a distance between us, it seemed I'd piqued his interest. Man, is this guy... This is the Toko's original father, right? Is this guy sketchy? How sketchy are all her relatives? My god. I said it, didn't I? He's the serious type. But you see, Akasaka-kun, or San, people in a line of work like ours can really use their wealth of experience to their advantage. I'm wondering what the experience of drinking in a bar with women would work to my advantage. The informant, unable to contain himself, clutched at his stomach as he guffawed, heedless of the people watching. Oh lordy! Akasaka-san, you can really judge people. That's what an education does for you. Uishi? You've been drinking somewhere, haven't you? Are you drunk? What's wrong with drinking when I'm off duty? Even if you're working, I'm not. Uishi was the sort that had fooled around to begin with. He was in such a good mood I couldn't figure out a way to deal with him. Completely different from me, who came worried about getting every bit of information I could. Uishi. After taking so much money, you were supposed to get me information worth at least that much. I thought this, but realized I was getting my information from the informant, so it didn't matter how drunk Uishi was. It was nothing I could complain about, but I still felt slightly riled up. I mean, having the cop be drunk is kind of annoying. He's supposed to be on your side, and he's, like, wasted. Uishi and the informant, no doubt a fake name, but he introduced himself as Sato. Led the way deeper and deeper into the back streets of the market district, and even though the market was bustling, a couple turns off the main street, and you'd find yourself in a desolate alleyway. Uishi started climbing a set of stairs on the side of a seedy building. There wasn't any signage, so I couldn't tell if the place was open or if even it was a store at all. Oh, don't worry, this isn't a dubious place. Those words coming from Uishi's mouth had no credibility. Ah, it's the Mahjong parlor. Beyond the door was, thankfully, a typical Mahjong parlor. I was relieved it wasn't the sort of suspicious place where I had to be on my guard about. Welcome, welcome. Oh, Uishi, it's been a while. Want to join in? There'll be a free spot soon. No, I'm here with a group today, it's fine. Oh, sorry to keep you waiting. Mahjong is a game played with 4 people. It seems, middle-aged man who was going to be our 4th has already arrived and was waiting for us. You're late, Kurado. I was just thinking of going home. Uishi made an excuse why we'd taken so long. Eventually, realizing I was the new face, the other man grew interested. That's Akasaka-san. He's a rookie who came all the way from Tokyo on assignment. They have high hopes for him. Boy, can you play Mahjong? Well, I played a bit when I was a student. I played like a couple hands when I was playing Yakuza. That's all I've played. Sato and the old man cackled in unison. Their plot to sucker me out of my money was painfully obvious. I thought you'd be a bit tired from your assignment, leaving you on edge all the time, so I thought I'd give you a night to cleanse your spirit. I know asking now might be stupid, but we're betting money on this, aren't we? Well, you see, just a little. It's a little for funsies, but it doesn't matter who loses, because after this, you're using that money to go play at a very nice place. Go play? What kind of place would you be doing that? Without reservation, the 3 started suggesting places like cabarets, high-class clubs, and even brothels. At the very least, they were the type of places you couldn't go to with money that was just for funsies. Yeah, you think, I don't know, how cheap it... I know cabarets aren't cheap. You're buying alcohol for someone else and paying for them hourly. I assume brothels aren't cheap either. Uishi took all my money the other day, and I also have work to do, so I can't stay for long. Then all you gotta do is win. If you win, you can use that money to pay for this table, and talk to Kurado about work or whatever. No matter what happened, it seemed like they were intent on playing Mahjong for free. I'd have to steel my resolve a little. If I was gonna be underestimated like this forever, it was gonna get in the way of my work. Well, I understand. I guess I'll play with you guys for a bit. If I win, you don't get any of the money or go to any of those dirty places, and we talk about work right away. Yeah. Bring it on. If I win, we're headed straight to the Blue Mermaid on Flower Road. This old Lech here likes that place too. Of course, we're gonna hop between all the places where they keep the girls coming. Akemi-chan. What about you, Sato? I prefer a place where we can drink quietly. A nice place where we can play footsies with a bunny girl? The last time we went drinking, you pulled the tail right off that bunny girl, didn't you? Didn't you end up having to pay for that? The owner ended up charging what he called a tailoring fee. What a lively table this was. I could tell the other customers were glaring at us while we loudly continued our crude conversation. Speaking of which, the fact they assumed I was the same was a bit disheartening. Uishi had taken all the money I'd brought, so everything I had left was out of my own pocket. In addition, there wasn't that much left of that either. If I kept on hanging around him like this, though, through his goading, my wallet would disappear into the night. I had to somehow win and return the conversation to my job. Man, Uishi's annoying as fuck. But these people, no matter how you looked at it, they were pretty good. Sorry. Sorry, Yuki. So your baby money is going to Ueshi's, let's see, Ueshi's, sexual exploits, alright. Well, I'll just call Ricci here. Well, the old man and Sato probably won't fall for this silly Ricci. I wonder if Akasaka will spit out what I need. At any rate, Kurata's hand's probably holding something like that, huh? In this case, this one ought to go through. There. Oh! The old man's pretty good. He's quietly trying to use one of my safe tiles to complete his hand, isn't he? Seems Akasaka has at least learned the ropes when it comes to guarding against someone's Ricci, but that will be his downfall. What's wrong, boy? Hurry up and discard. If you're not sure, anything that Kurata's already thrown away should be safe, no? No? Ooh, Akasaka's really fretting over this one. It was glaringly obvious he had a safe tile to discard, but he didn't want to throw it away because it would move him further from completing his hand. They're nice when they're young and innocent. Hurry up and throw out the kicker. If he gave me the winning tile, we'd be headed to an establishment where I could do with all sorts of licking and sucking. If he gives this old man his winning tile, we'll be headed straight to the place of maids and bloomers. This will go through, right? He looked up as he hesitantly threw out a tile that was... Oh, too bad. Hey, that's a dangerous tile, you know. Kurata, does that go through? It will. It will! It seems this time you're lucky. But as long as the round kept going, I could still win off the draw. After that, Akasaka managed to luckily avoid throwing any bad tiles, and somehow the round managed to end without anyone finishing a hand. Tenpai. Tenpai. Noten. Sato had keenly anticipated that two players were in Ricci and decided to play it safe. What a cool-headed way of playing. Let's see what kind of hand did Akasaka-kun have. When the round ended with nobody winning in Mahjong, anyone in Tenpai has to show their hand. But if you're not in Tenpai, you have no obligation to reveal it. Your average beginner would show their hand, even if they weren't in Tenpai, and start a commotion about how, if this tile or that tile came, they'd be in Tenpai, but he didn't. Didn't you? How'd you do, boy? Come on and show me. Sato reached over to flip the hand Akasaka casually placed face down. The hell's this? He was nowhere near Tenpai. Was Akasaka totally bad at this after all? Whereas the old man compared the tiles from Akasaka-kun's hand to the discard pool, a puzzled expression crossed his face. Boy, you were in Tenpai right around here, weren't you? Why'd you break your hand? The higher Manzu tiles suddenly got more valuable, so I held them back. Even though the chance they were safe tiles increased with respect to Ueshi's Ricci, it would have been safer to read the discards, but there was a player who went out of their way to keep tiles out of play. Oh? So Kurata's Tenpai was no good from the start. In other words, if it wasn't such a high-level trap, I would have thought you were waiting for me to throw out the winning tile. But the more concerning thing is that you were in Tenpai. I didn't say anything. Oh? When did you realize I was in Tenpai? Here? You threw 4 tiles in a row immediately. At first I thought you were discarding redundant ones, but I noticed you glancing at me and realized you were waiting for something. Akasaka, you... When did you first start playing Mahjong? Never did, except high school and university. Now, let's continue. Since Sato wasn't in Tenpai and the round ended without a winner, I'm next, right? The next dealer? It seems Akasaka is really aware of how the game flows. We thought we were going to eat him alive, but it looks like it's not going to be easy. Ooh, our first shot of our new protagonist. Black hair and red or brown eyes? A blue tie? Maybe turquoise? Interesting. Uishi, it looks like you're going for the bamboo ties. Should I put some in play? This boy. Kurata, don't back down. As long as I get 3 more good tiles. Sato, you think you can do it? Damn it, I'll just force you to go for a cheap Tanyao. Cheap? A straight? I'm gonna pawn that tile. Whoa, whoa. Gonna call 3 of a kind after he declares a straight? You trying to override and interfere? Boy, you're getting used to this. Oh no. I couldn't even compare to you guys. You've been playing since before I was even born. That's game. Wrong. Triplets, 2 red door, and 3 more door. I'm the dealer, so this will cost you quite a bit. Nice job, Akasaka. Now we have to get serious, won't we? Well, you can get serious about handing over your points. I'm tired, so let's end this. Akasaka. It's somehow unreal. Before I could realize it, there was an ominous cold air emitting from beneath Akasaka's feet. Did this guy just play this in university for fun? Is this all he did? How blaze. The 2, 5, and 8 Monzoos are lapping at you. Damn it. Boy, you... Kurado, finish it. You have to end the boy's turn as dealer. I had to admit it, that seems like the best option. There it is. Ron. Simple strength, 1 Dora. Sorry. Ron. Great. A head bump? You damn brat. Brat? Oh, you'd play that sloppily against a brat? Well, I guess that means you're worse than a brat yourself. It's so interesting. Will you guys call people things like brat and boy? Akasaka. That is you, right? It feels like you're a different person. You thought that I, being a sucker, would let you drink some good booze tonight. Seems you're a little off the mark. Wrong. Triple straight. Red door and another door. You actually did it. That's why I'm saying, you guys are slacking. No matter how you look at it, you gotta be able to read such an obvious three-way weight. Akasaka chuckled as he rested his chin in his hands. That pose was so fitting, it was almost scary. Why is our character a god of Mahjong? Hey, Kurado! This isn't what we discussed. Who the hell said he was a naive sucker right for the picking? Who could it be? Rishi, this is bad. If he keeps going, we're seriously gonna lose. Akasaka, for you to make me get serious. Looks like you really want to be milked dry. Pawn, pawn. That sounds nice. One more time. Pawn. Akasaka was almost singing at this point. The tiles he had open were all pin tiles. You can't be serious. Are you going for a flush? Pawn. Boy, are you right in the head? You opened 4 sets. You have 1 tile left. That's right. Did you know? Waiting on a single tile is the hardest thing to read. Are you an idiot? With that much your hand revealed, you don't think he'll give you a tile you need, do you? Oh, I know what you're doing, Akasaka-san. That's not a flush or a half flush, is it? The fact you called pawn 4 times means you're already in position for an all-triplet hand. Right now, you're far and away in the lead. You're trying to show a flush and goad us into giving you triplets, aren't you? Well, if that's what you think, want to try throwing out some pins? The left 5 tiles in your hand, Uishi? They're pin tiles you're reluctant to throw away, right? Why don't you try discarding them in order from the left? You gotta be joking. Is he a Mahjong god? If not, he has to be the main character of a manga or something. Afraid so. He is the main character of a visual novel right now, which means you're probably going to lose. At that moment, the old man sent me a sign under the table. The message was simple and clear. Kurado, crush him. I don't like to cheat against kids like this. Idiot. After being disrespected like this, we can't pull back now. Well, I'm not responsible for what happens, you know. Go ahead. Here we go, boy. Ricci. We'll go open. I'm waiting for a 1, 4, or 7 of pins. Most likely the tile that Akasaka was waiting for was one of those tiles. With this, Akasaka was no longer capable of winning the hand. When I drew from the wall, I switched out the tile Akasaka would draw. The tile that I put in was the 1 pin. One of the tiles the old man was waiting on. Akasaka discarded a while ago, so there was no threat of it being the one he needed. Come on, it's your turn, boy. I knew he was troubled the tile he drew was the 1 pin. Of course he couldn't discard it. Boy, you must be aware, if you discard it to an open Ricci, it's worth the limit, you know? You don't have to tell me that. The tile that came from Akasaka's hand was an honor tile. Quite that's something. There's only 1 north wind tile left, isn't there? You were counting on a really rough wait, weren't you? But with this, Akasaka's fate was decided. You're lucky you're safe, but your hand only has a single tile. You think you'll be able to run away from the rest of this round? Okay. It's gonna be like that. Akasaka glared at the old man with a discerning eye. This guy had pretty good instincts. Did he figure out we were cheating? Let's stop this. Akasaka's a step or 2 ahead of us. You think we can stop after we come this far? Make him draw it. The next tile Akasaka would draw was the 7 pin. With it, it would be settled. No matter which one he discarded, he'd play right into the old man's hand. An unavoidable full payout. Alright. So Ueshi cheats at Mahjong. Interesting. When I drew my tile, I sneakily swapped Akasaka-san's. Crash. What? Akasaka suddenly sneezed, collapsing the wall of tiles in front of him. Hey, what are you? Sorry, I knocked over the wall when I sneezed. There's a penalty for that, right? I'm the dealer, so 4,000 to everyone? Or should I pay a deposit? Unable to hold back, I guffawed. Akasaka, knowing he was going to be cornered a second time and unable to escape, took the drastic measure of knocking over his own wall. You're good. Get away from a full payout like that. Ueshi, could you not bother putting me in such an obvious trap? If we were at Baba, this would have been the point where I flipped the table. Oh, no, sorry. I underestimated you. For some reason, you're really good, aren't you? Okay, so Ueshi and all the people here cheat at Mahjong. Wonderful people. They play games for money and cheat at them. Wonderful people. Answer me honestly. You got a lot of experience when you were younger, didn't you? I played a bit around with Seda and Takano Baba. I raised the stakes a little too much at a place I frequented, and they banned me. Made the woman who'd become my wife pretty angry, so I washed my hands of it all. Raised the stakes too high? How much were you playing for at the time? It depends on who I was playing with. They were pretty high stakes when I played in Kabukicho. Or Kabukicho. Largest I played were 20 times standard. 20 times? What kind of stakes were those? Did you have Yakuza at your table? Pro basketball players? What's this? Kurado! You buffoon! Where'd you pull this guy from? He's strong enough to play for the Yakuza! I give up, jeez. Boy, it's your win. I surrender. Thank you, it was an honor. Oh my. Akasaka, your personality really changes when you play. Why do you even have a day job? You have no problem living as a freelancer. Well, to be a pro Mahjong player, you need both talent and luck. I didn't have anything like that supporting me. Luck is luck. With somebody of your skill, I think you'd be able to make it pretty far. Normal luck doesn't calling it. Calling a con, and 1 time out of 3, you can aim to win on the next extra draw with 4 Dora. That kind of luck. Akasaka, if you could judge something like that, you're already bordering on supernatural. No, there's plenty of people who can do that without cheating or superpowers. There was a person I met in Shinjuku who'd get Doras every time you blinked. He was as strong as a demon. There was a pro I played with in Yokohama. They'd draw the tile they needed immediately after calling Ricci like it was an everyday thing. I don't have that kind of luck. What kind of people are those? They weren't named Ryu or Satoshi by any chance? Oh. Is it alright if I'm declared winner then? Yeah. We totally lost. I lost. It's been a while since I lost this big. Still. When you were playing, boy, you were pretty into it. It was kind of scary. Oh, I hear that a lot. I don't mean to change gears like that, though. Did I really look that scary? Yep. The 3 of us nodded emphatically in agreement. So that was Akasaka, the Mahjong prodigy. Before he goes home from his assignment, maybe I could have him go play at a high-stakes table in my place. Not good to get greedy, though. Well, nothing for it. It was a promise. We'll break our little late-night study group for now. Sorry about this, old man. That's it for tonight. Nothing you can do. I'm going home to sleep. My body won't last like this. So we had dummied them at Mahjong to the point where they had to cheat. And we still got out of actually losing due to their cheating. Problems at work. Oh, he's the foreman of the primary construction site at Hinamizawa Dam. Oh, interesting. That killed the atmosphere right away. It's like, the foreman of the dam. It kills it for us too, because we know what happens to him in the next couple days. So the dam foreman. Oh boy. Rest in peace, foreman. You fucking dead, buddy. Damn, he's butting heads with the residents every day. That's a rough business. Around next year, I might be in charge of the second site as well. I heard Kuroda-san was pissing blood. He won't hold out much longer. You'll be alright, old man. Your skull is thicker than it looks. I'm not exactly a saint, you know. There's times that just make my blood boil. I especially can't stand dealing with that bratty daughter of the Sonozakis. I think one of these days I'm going to rearrange her face. No. At least the pay is good, right? I heard the wages were pretty exorbitant. Of course they are. If the pay was cheap, nobody'd hang around to that god-awful job. Kurata, when exactly are the police going to tell the villagers to shove off? There'll be a notice of eviction from the government, right? Maybe? I wonder when that'll happen. The old man, who identified himself as the foreman of the dam, spewed a few complaints until he felt better about it, then left quietly. Well, let's go. I'll leave the rest to Sado-san. Uishi, are you going home? If I'm here, I'll be in the way, won't I? Besides, the one who bought Sato's services was you. I didn't pay for my share. Uishi's-san was kind of sketchy, but he was strangely conscientious about some things. I felt quite a bit of a gap between myself and Uishi's generation from that part of him I didn't quite comprehend. Well, boy, I can't call that Mahjong player Mr. Mahjong here boy no more. Is Akasaka-kun alright with you? That's fine. He's finally paying us the respect we'd like. We've earned his respect, and he's finally giving us a real name. Hey, now, Akasaka. Shall we go? Well, Akasaka, later. If you're having any trouble, you can count on me anytime. I don't have any more money to pay you. You know that, right? If you go easy on me next time, we'll be even. Uishi, seemingly still not have it had his fill of playing around, but without overstaying his welcome, disappeared into the night. Okay. Mr. Expensive. Mr. Moneybag, since all he does is demand money. Uishi is gone. That's good for us, right? Assuming we don't get murdered. Good news is we've had a flash forward. Good news is this is technically a flashback, so may not be here. We may not be here too long, and we're probably going to survive this because it's a flashback. The informant named Sato had me get into his car before he set off. He favored narrow roads and made numerous short left turns. Checking if we're being followed? Yeah, you know a lot about this. Checking to see if you're being tailed by making left turns is a rather classic technique. If it's a single pursuer, you could confirm it that way, but if you're being tailed as a team, this archaic method wouldn't let you shake them. Of course, doing it anyway is better than not. I didn't hear anything from the boss as to who you are, Akasaka. Related to the police? If you're familiar with checking for being tailed, the only other possibility I can think of is you're a private detective. If it's not something I have to say, I'd like to refuse to answer that question. Hi, my. Ever since we played Mahjong, you seem a lot more mature. I wonder where that hesitant person went from when we first met. I smiled wryly. Looking back now, I had to be a little grateful for being made to play Mahjong. Thanks to that, I was able to relieve some tension. Eventually, Sato, confirming there were no cars following us, slipped outside the city. We were on a pitch-black country road, unable to see anything besides the light outside. The only thing I was able to hear was the hum of the car's air conditioning and the chirping of insects and frogs. I heard from the boss you want to hear about the village, yeah? Like about the old houses, known as the three families who control the place? Or right now it's pretty much the Sonozaki running things? But if you know that much, I'll cut out the introductions. And if you would, can you confirm or deny owning Fushi Guardians are involved with the kidnapping of Mr. Inukai's grandson? Sato checked the rearview mirror one more time to confirm there wasn't anyone behind us before speaking. Last night, the main house held a family council. Did you hear about it from the boss? No. If it was a normal meeting, it would just be all relatives coming together over a nice cup of tea or something. But a family council held by the main house isn't quite so relaxed. A family council held by the main house. That would be a meeting between those who truly controlled Hinamizawa village. They wouldn't be talking private family matters, it would be about the village as a whole. About organizing activities against the dam project, among other things. Everything would be decided there. In reality, they were deciding the fate of the village. At the head of the meeting was Oryu Sonozaki, more or less called the Empress, as she was the ultimate decision-maker of the clan. She was to be feared and respected. Infirm with old age, she was often unable to stand on her own, but her words carried enough weight to sway the fate of the village. It seemed lately she'd grown weak, and on days she wasn't feeling well, remained bedridden. Family councils that occurred when she wasn't feeling well took place with her on the floor. In the middle of a dignified Japanese-style room, still in a futon, only the upper half of her body sitting upright, a stern look on her face. That was Oryu Sonozaki. Sitting next to her was her heir, Mion. She was still young, but no, young wasn't the right word. She was a girl who remained childish. Her role was merely to sit beside Oryu, sometimes responding to requests. However, she's the only one deemed worthy to succeed Oryu. She had the same hawkish eyes, enough to give pause to anybody who so much as looked at them. Much was expected of her in the future, this granddaughter of the Sonozaki's leader. And on either side of her sat several other important members of the three families, the Kimiyoshi, in the Furude. First on the list was, of course, the mayor, Ichiro Kimiyoshi, and beside him were more of his direct relatives. Opposite sat the other three families, the Furude. The Furude was only comprised of the family of a Shinto priest, so the only ones there were the priest, his wife, and the daughter. Rika was doted on by the older folks, and it seemed Oryu was no exception. The stress from just attending a family council was said to be enough to shorten your lifespan by 3 days. It seemed Rika was the only one exempt from that. No matter how charged the atmosphere was around here, she paid it no mind, instead humming along as she doodled in a sketchbook. In fact, the night before, lying on her stomach while humming and doodling, she nonchalantly tucked her legs into Oryu's futon like it was a kotatsu. This was the three families, and around the room, lined row upon row, were relatives of the Sonozaki. The only ones who were afforded cushions to sit on were direct relatives. The others were left to sit in the seiza position directly on tatami mats. With Empress Sonozaki enshrined at their center, they were almost like a giant snake coiled around the room. It was decided everyone would sit in order of their rank. The number of people from the Sonozaki was overwhelming. The fact that Sonozaki held so many seats at a meeting where everything pertaining to the village was determined made determining where the balance of power was in the three families as clear as day. The number of members in attendance from each family directly reflected how much influence they had in ruling Hinamizawa. So, what was talked about at the meeting? Satu, after remaining silent for a while, began to speak. Wasn't our monetary gift of appreciation to the media a little large? Breaking the long moment of silence was the head of the Kimiyoshi, Ichiro Kimiyoshi. The Onigafuchi Guardians wasn't a business. They were nothing more than a private organization pushing for the cancellation of the dam project with no reliable source of income. Fundraising is always a problem. When they first started operating, they had managed to collect a sizable amount of funds through donations, but as the conflict dragged on, it was steadily declining. This is an era where you can get what you want by just throwing rocks. It's very important you don't underestimate the power of the media, and we want to borrow some of that down the road. The expressions of the people related to the Sonozaki's family were sullen. As the one who suggested they borrow that power was the family head, Oryu. The battle wasn't about force of arms. In this civilized age, there were civilized methods of fighting. Text notes. Taking hostages. Alright, well, that's your thing. Okay. Oryu suggested creating a strategy incorporating the mass media. Her foresight was spot on, and the effects, while at first unclear, slowly began to manifest. If the physical confrontation at the construction site was meant to delay progress by even 1 day, then the propaganda war was aimed at attacking the project itself. At first there were those who had doubts about the strategy, but there was nobody now who called those results into question. In order to maintain the media ties, a colossal amount of money was required. As long as the amount of funds they had was abundant, things would turn out fine. It couldn't be argued it was a massive expense, but the results, they spoke for themselves. But with conflict continuing to drag on, circumstances had changed. The head of the Sonozaki, the one at the pinnacle of the three families, suggested the idea herself, so it was untouchable, and continued to be allowed to drain the budget. Nobody acknowledged it should be allowed, but nobody could say anything. That was the price of dealing with the media. What do you think, Oryu? The only person who could object to a plan proposed by the head of the Sonozaki herself was probably Mayor Kimiyoshi. Oryu, with a rather hard-to-define expression on her face, as if she had severed herself from the fetters of mortal emotions, simply listened quietly to Kimiyoshi's words. It was hard to tell if she was listening or didn't even have the intention of listening at all. Last year we went through a lot of trouble getting people to wrap their heads around the price hike on the bulletins we were putting out. We convinced them it was just one time. It wouldn't do if we add to another one this year. Right, Furude? The mayor looked to the priest and his wife from the Furude family for affirmation. The priest gave a vague expression, avoiding a prompt response, but his wife gave her answer without a second thought. That's right. The costs of the bulletins are particularly harsh on the poorer families. Everyone's dealing with it for the sake of the village, but it's best if we don't increase the prices more. The bulletin, as its name implied, a bulletin published by the Onigafuchi Guardians, outlined the Alliance's activities, ideals, and resolve, but you couldn't deny the contents were piecemeal. The bulletin's main goal wasn't to inform people, but something to sell to businesses and people living in the village or connected to it, and using those sales to collect funds. In other words, it had become something of a tax. course, it didn't have to be said this is one of the main sources of income for the Guardians. Originally, purchase was supposed to be voluntary, but in Hinamizawa, it had silently become the opposite, a mandatory tax. In the neighboring towns as well, it seemed many businesses were buying copies to avoid butting heads with the Alliance. The priest whispered to his wife not to say anything unnecessary, but was struck down decidedly with a cold glare. Cowering from that glare, the priest shut his mouth. The priest's wife always had held the power in their relationship. That was because she's the one who carried the Furude bloodline. The priest merely married into the family. He was nothing more than someone who adopted the name just to join the three families. He should have been able to find a spot fairly high up in the hierarchy of things, but the lack of authority in his voice meant that he still hadn't gained any favor. Casting a backwards glare at her rather disparate parents, Marika continued to doodle whimsically without paying them any mind. Signaled by a look from Oryu, Mion brought her ear closer to her grandmother. There, something was said to her in a quiet voice. After responding with a couple questions, and with a nod from Oryu, Mion looked around the room and conveyed her grandmother's words. There will be no freeze on the price increase for the bulletin. Kiyoshi made a face like he'd bit into something unpleasant, but that expression quickly disappeared, like it never happened at all. So, interesting. So they're imposing a tax on the village and the city. You either buy their bulletins or they fuck up your business. So they are just running it like the mob. Instead of protection money, instead of buying protection, you're buying a bulletin or a newspaper. And presumably the newspaper, it's not like you're paying like $1 for the newspaper or something. You're paying like $500 or some bullshit for a simple newspaper or magazine that comes out once a month. And you're like, who would ever pay that much for that? And it's like, you either pay that or they fuck your business up. It's the slightly more legit way of running a protection racket. Alright. So that's what they're doing. Interesting. Miss Mion, just reading this and being like, remember how Mion's like so proud of all the things she's doing, and she's unironically running a protection racket on every single business in town and adjacent to the town. Just think about that. Like, it's shedding new lights on how much of a shitty person Mion is. Like, either you buy shit tons of these bulletins, or your business is gonna have a lot of fucking trouble getting anything done. Protection racket. But Mion, I think you already know this, but the cost of the bulletin is by no means easily affordable. It's a burden carried by everyone in Hinamizawa. If we make people carry too much, it's possible we'll collapse from the inside. And who on the inside would start the collapse? Who? Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I'm asking, who would be first to buckle? Being cross-examined by a girl who had the fragments of childness remaining within her. Of childness. The word sunk in Kimiyoshi's throat as he sunk into silence. Mion repeated her question once more, looking around the crowded room. Everyone refrained from making eye contact to avoid being pierced by her gaze. So they're raising taxes, and it's like, who the fuck dares to object to us raising our mandatory taxes on town? The words she'd spoken were unarguably said in proxy for Oryu. That's why Mion spoke them. They carried the same weight. But the look in her eyes was different. Like Oryu's, they had a hawkish gaze, strong enough that anybody looking upon them would freeze in their tracks and yield. But that gaze was without question one that belonged to Mion herself. As Mion would eventually inherit everything from Oryu, the day when she would stand up as a young and capable leader in her own right would come. Nobody wanted to believe otherwise, even for a minute. That's why nobody thought of Mion as some sort of little kid. Miyoshi-san, nobody will lose their resolve or something like a price hike on the bulletin. Miyoshi, while grumbling a bit, made a gesture as if to say he had no objection. The expenses related to the mass media will continue. If those expenses become too much, we'll have no choice but continue the price hike. Mion had rendered her judgment. Everyone bowed their heads silently listening to her words. In the name of Mion Sonozaki, as acting head of the Sonozakis, I declare this shall be effective immediately. There'll be no objections. Any opposition will be removed by force. The formal decree was read aloud, indicating her judgment. There would be no retrial, but there was a certain authority behind those words that even a courthouse couldn't compare to, of course. I mean, Mion has absolute control over the whole region. If she's a judge, she would have banged her gavel, signaling the matter settled. Instead, she pulled out a large bell from inside her clothes and rang it. Everyone present could only prostrate themselves before the harsh sound of the bell. Well, that's an old-fashioned family council, isn't it? A young guy like you would probably find it hard to believe. In an antiquated place like this, these types of things have firm roots. It was exactly as Ushi said. The old system of the three families vanished, and now the Sonozaki were running things by themselves. On top of that, their rule was borderline despotic. Was that the end of the meeting? No, there's more. I'll continue. I mean, as mean as that is, that's not exactly, as mean and questionable as it might be morally, it's not illegal. It's not, something he can do anything about. Eventually, after the ringing of the bell ceased, there was a deafening silence. Within all that, a lone man shuffled closer to Mion and whispered something in her ear. Mion asked several questions quietly in response. When she was satisfied, she motioned for the man to leave. The man who talked to Mion was a member of a gang her father was leader of. The organization had the entire area of Shishibon City under its control. It was quite well known, even here. Of course, this is talking about the criminal underworld. It's not like just anybody would know, but showing a patch with a gang symbol on it was enough to resolve any disputes in the neighborhood. Mion's father, to Oryu, her daughter's husband. The power of that man's gang was the driving force that controlled the dark underbelly of the Onigafuchi Guardians. And so that man, from his position as next in line to control the three families, continued to coerce everyone around him with his unconventional presence. Mion exchanged a look with her father. Was it okay for her to tell what she had just heard directly to Oryu? It looked like she was asking him that question. Her father gently but firmly nodded in his response. Mion nodded and sidled up to Oryu, informing her of something. Eventually, Mion finished conveying her message, separated herself from Oryu, and fixed her posture, waiting for Oryu to signal her response. It wasn't often Oryu showed any emotion. That's why when she started laughing, a vague sense of uneasiness crept over everyone in the room. That's quite the conundrum, isn't it? Oryu was laughing so happily that Kimiyoshi had to hesitantly ask, "Oh, what is it, Oryu?" If this land is like a mother to us, then the business of the dam is like somebody threatening our mother's life, isn't it? No, it is not. Kimiyoshi, unable to comprehend the meaning of her words, looked confused. Oryu, with a wide grin on her face, turned towards everyone and addressed them in a clarion voice. Creepy old lady. The minister behind the dam project is rattled over the kidnapping of his grandson. That makes us even. That's absurd. Information on the kidnapping shouldn't have leaked from anywhere. How did they know? Even we didn't know about the kidnapping incident. How did an antiquated household so far from Tokyo know of it? It was a tranquil place, but I couldn't help but have an uneasy feeling about the village. At some point, I mentally filed this place away as unrelated to the incident at hand. The mental paperwork had just blown away in the wind. How did the Onigafuchi Guardians know about that? Sato, unable to cope with an answer, fell into silence. Sorry, please continue. Sure, okay. The Minister of Construction's grandson was kidnapped? Oryu, is that true? That major of an incident was nowhere to be seen in the newspapers on TV. But in Hinamizawa, there was nothing strange about Oryu knowing something the rest of the world didn't. Our pain is the pain of losing a mother. I don't think it completely makes up for it, but the pain of losing a grandchild? Heck, he'll have to bear with that for a bit, don't you think? The last question wasn't addressed to anyone in particular. It was as if she was looking for consensus. Still, land and a child are different things. I don't mind hiding him here, but I don't want any harm to befall him. The child isn't to blame. Make sure to keep that in mind. That means the Guardians were involved in the kidnapping? I can't say for certain. Why? Their leader, Oryu, is clearly giving orders on the treatment of the kidnapped child? Lad, you see, this is what the family always does. Always? What do you mean by that? Let's say there's a particular problem. One that's not favorable for the Sonozakis. If Oryu shows concern over that problem, hearing that, somebody who attended the council would be helpful. As a result, Oryu's wish would be granted. However, neither Oryu nor anyone else would know who actually did it. With this kind of clever little ploy, the Sonozaki is able to manipulate events even though they have their hands laid out on the table. That means somebody who's at the family was the culprit? Or there's a possibility there's never a culprit in the first place. Oryu herself in that room full of people didn't say somebody pulled off the kidnapping. She's just giving her opinion. It's an odd and unpleasantly secretive way of doing things. Were they involved or weren't they? I couldn't see it beyond the veil. This much, however, I can say with certainty. This kidnapping was an ironclad secret. No matter how high a position someone was in, even they wouldn't know about it. If there was somebody who would know about it, they'd be connected to public safety. In other words, one of us. The only other options were people connected to the case itself, including the minister. There would be people affected by the incident, or people that committed it. In any case, there's no way an old household in a place removed from Tokyo by over 6 hours of highway travel should know about it. Them knowing it all was already strange, and my suspicions began to grow. Dude, they literally gave orders for how to handle the treatment of their hostage. How is that not an admission of guilt in some way? Like falling snow. That's as much as Oryu said in regards to the kidnapping. Hopefully what you wanted to find out was in here. After this, it's up to you. I don't know what kind of work you're doing, but if you're going up the Sonozaki's, you'd best prepare yourself. Wish might be fearless, but even he's been attacked 2 or 3 times. He hasn't been wearing it lately, but at one point he was wearing a stab-proof vest while off duty. Oh? Thanks for the warning, I'll be careful. Speak pretty well. Are you from Tokyo, perchance? What's your point? Investigators were always close to danger. It was best not to divulge any information on myself. Your job. Did you possibly be someone from the Metropolitan Public Safety Division? I couldn't remain silent here. It would be the same thing as admitting it. No way! This wasn't accounted for in the money I got for the boss, but as somebody played at the same table today, I'll give you this one as a freebie. After Oryu talked about the kidnapping, there was one other topic that came up. Another topic? And right before he told me this, Sato asked if I was from the Public Safety Division. In other words, what those two things meant. Those two things meant to chill caused a chill. What the heck was that line? Oh, what those two things meant caused a chill to run up my spine. So you see, in order to investigate the kidnapping of the minister's grandson, there's word that there will be an investigator from Public Safety dispatched from Tokyo. An investigator from Public Safety? They can't be reckless and make a big deal over the kidnapping, so it seems the Public Safety Division is investigating this on their own. Ain't that grand? What is it? Rika, who'd been drawing the entire time, was completely uninterested in the conversation until now, and looked at Oryu with an interested face as soon as the topic of public safety came up. Did the Metropolitan Police come? Oh, so Rika knows about the police department? That's very admirable. Who came? Is there anybody that knows what kind of a guy from public safety came here? Mion's father raised his hand. I hear it's a nice young piece of fresh meat. Fresh meat? Nice and tender? Yes it is. Fresh meat. Mion's father smiled wryly as he answered Rika's question. Tender and tasty? Yeah. Tender and tasty. Rika smiled with interest. Why did Rika suddenly act interested when it came to this topic? That was a question that apparently nobody had the answer to. Does Rika know something about this man? I don't know. After a rather flat reply, Rika buried herself underneath Oryu's futon again. When she buried herself there, Rika no longer started drawing. Instead, she made an expression like she was deep in contemplation. What do we do about him? Mother? Mion's father posed the question. He was the type of uncouth expression on his face, indicating that given the order, he could snuff the problem out at any time. He came all the way to Hinamizawa. Let him take it easy for a while. So you're saying let him go around as he pleases? Mion's father asked in response. Oryu smiled thinly as she responded. Leave him alone. But if he starts causing too much mischief when that happens, don't hold back. I don't enjoy being taken lightly. Is what they talked about, apparently. It couldn't be you're that fresh meat from the Metropolitan Police, are you? Couldn't be. The sensation of cold, bristling fear began to crawl its way up my back. The family council took place last night. In other words, yesterday. Then today I was dressed up as a tourist headed towards Hinamizawa, my cover already blown. When I remembered the first person I met when I got to the bus stop, I couldn't breathe. The person at the council who expressed interest in the man being dispatched was Rika. And then the person who was waiting for me the whole time in the bus shelter. Rika again. It was an unthinkable image. A delusion, perhaps. When we met at that bus shelter, did Rika already know my true identity? Did she know I was Akasaka, dispatched from the police department, come to meet me? Including the mayor, every villager that I met, everyone knew but just pretended not to? Because Oryu gave instructions to not interfere. Thinking about it logically, it didn't seem possible. I met quite a number of people. If there's people that good at acting, there's people who are bad at hiding things. If there's that many people, there should have been someone among them who knew I was from public safety and couldn't hide their hostility. However, I didn't feel a presence like that. But then, even still, why did Oryu tell them to leave me alone? Was it because if they were careless, it only raised more suspicion? Or was it because they believed a rookie wouldn't be able to find anything? Akasaka's a coward. I recalled that strange voice which could only make me believe that Rika had been possessed. The unknown entity, no matter how you looked, knew my true identity from the get-go. And how did it warn me again? That's right. It warned me to hurry up and go back to Tokyo. Instead of the worry that the Guardians had discarded my identity, or the worry brought on by the unknown girl struck me more. What was that girl? What was the thing I would eventually regret? The mysterious girl, Rika. Oh, stop it. Everything I was thinking of right now was merely conjecture. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I report everything I heard right now to HQ and await further orders. There's no mistaking the possibility the Guardians were related to the case. Was here. And the fact that my cover was blown meant I was in a precarious position. But as everyone at HQ was already busy, they might not be able to spare the support. Is that everything? If you want, I can drop you off wherever you like. Sorry. In that case, the station where we met, please. A rural road where even a streetlight was rare. I couldn't see anything. I wasn't aware of anything but the asphalt that was lit up by the headlights. Outside of that light, was it simply darkness, or was there something lurking there waiting to strike? I had to think I drew the short straw there. I wanted to go back to Tokyo, but for some reason the voice of the girl warning me to go back still lingered in my head. The only thing I can conclude from this is that if you're ever going to do a public works project, you should probably push it forward with as much brutality as necessary to get it done fucking immediately. That's the conclusion I'm learning from this story. I'm reaching from this story. Just be like, if we have to have armed cops at the fucking site and just shoot people who go within visible range and aren't working, fucking do it, man. They're all Yakuza. Alright, the investigation runs aground. We finished chapter 2. Yesterday, when we met at the restaurant in Ginza, the topic popped up. It's overstepping their boundaries, isn't it? They're meddling too much with public safety. If they keep doing that, they're going to set a bad precedent. It seems Minister Inukai is openly uncomfortable with the way public safety is doing things. The Vice Minister is probably going to say something to that effect during the debate session. But what can you do? You can only have the Director address the Vice Minister. That's why we pay him the big bucks. Well, if it comes to that, they're going to ask him for proof that the Minister is being threatened. Sometimes, I don't know what side he's on. If he's not on ours, then what? Well, he's probably getting some pressure from the Minister. We'll probably just have to proceed with the investigation while he sweats it out in the Vice Minister's office and buys us some time. He might get so wrung out to dry that all that'll be left are dregs, though. So, how's the investigation going? All the juicy leads I was pinning my hopes on turned out to be duds. I'm at a loss. There's reports the dam project's been showing up a lot lately in the minister's press releases. What about that? Well, you say showing up, but it's more of a very slight feeling, something strange. He just happened to mention it during his speech at the prefectural forum, so it might have been something that he was mentioning because it was relevant at the time. If I remember correctly, a local organization there was protesting quite violently, right? The Onigafuchi Guardians? I think Akasaka was investigating that. I think those guys could be behind what's happening now. Even if we can't say there's anything overtly suspicious, it might not be prudent to remove them from the picture. Akasaka reported in passing he couldn't deny that possibility. Isn't there merit in investigating them? We're going through everything with a fine-tooth comb. If they're one of the suspicious groups that's left, we're gonna have to. Well, they're not the only group we should investigate, right? And we're talking about groups that are as suspicious as Onigafuchi. There's quite a few of them. We don't have the men, the time, or the money for it all. I'll try asking for more details from Akasaka. I feel like we should pay some extra attention to these guardians. It's reported he established a rapport with the villagers. It also seems he's collaborating with the local police. Gave her contact with Akasaka on the down low. Also, if there's anything in this info that merits investigation, it's possible we can send reinforcements. Got it. Sorry, Chief Katoka. There's a phone call from the director. Should I transfer it over here? No, it's fine. I'll head over there. Hello? What's in the box? Alright, what's in the box, guys? Do you believe there are choices in life? There are many people who lament the following. If there's only existed points in life where there were clear choices to make, we'd be able to scrutinize those carefully and make decisions that would lead us to a better future. Every time I hear people lament as such, I cast it off as a rather trivial worry. Even if you were given a clear choice, it wouldn't be meaningful at all, and there wouldn't be any such path to a better future, right? Is this hard to understand? Let's pretend in front of you there are two strange boxes. In other words, you have two clear choices. Do you open the red or the blue box? A lot of things would be uncertain even with that choice, wouldn't they? If you don't have the option of opening neither, then your choice boils down to the natural impulse of opening the box that holds the better result for you. After examining the shape and features of each and pondering a great many things, you have to pick either the red or the blue. If this was you, which box would you open? Red seems good. Red or blue? If you were to go by the traditional meanings, red would be a dangerous, threatening color. However, that doesn't mean it would be calm and relaxing inside the blue box either. In fact, it might be that the colors are a trap to make you wary of the red box and open the blue. A trap, you say? Could it be the contents of the box aren't a reward, but a penalty? Possibly. See, now you're at a loss. You have no idea. You're so conflicted over the choice between red and blue, you've started wishing there was an option to open neither and just leave. But there isn't. You have to open either the red or the blue box. Oh, I forgot to say it, but if you choose one box, the other disappears. You'll never know the contents of the box you don't open. True. You don't know what happens if you pick another thing in life. If you picked another path in life, you don't know what you could have had. You can only guess at what the possibilities could have been. Fair enough. I'll put that rule at the end there just for you. Now, choose. Red or blue. It's alright, you won't lose anything by picking either one. Come on. Actual questions. Alright, red. Easy. Have you thought about it? In the end, you chose this color, didn't you? As soon as you chose, the other box disappeared, so you can give up on the contents of that one, alright? That's the rule. Now open up the box you chose. Inside the box, there was a piece of caramel. Oh no, you're disappointed. That's only natural. No matter how you look at it, it looks like you drew the dud. The correct box might have had a bar of chocolate in it for all you know. In fact, something incredible like a pair of tickets to Hawaii might have been in there. But even if you want to verify that, the other box has already disappeared. There's no way you can check it now. Yep, that's life for you, my dude. But if you think about it from an optimistic point of view, maybe the other box is empty and this box is the winner. Being satisfied, or perhaps not, with such a cheap prize, you pop it into your mouth and start chewing it happily. What do you think, in the end? If you were given a second chance, would you try to open the other box? Unfortunately, the chance to choose between the red or the blue box is come and gone, never to be seen again. The chance to change your selection will never come. Don't your parents often say, every choice you make in life only happens once, so choose carefully? See? Choices aren't that great, after all. Aren't you a little disillusioned now? Well, funny thing, this is a visual novel. You know what I want to do? This is a visual novel. Let's see if they accounted for this. They're taunting me by saying I can't go back. I want to bet that they already accounted for me rerunning what's in the box, but I'm going to rerun it again just to see what happens. Can I pick blue? We're going to fast forward through this. It's going to explain the boxes again. So let's see. Haha. Blue. I did think about it. I chose this color. The other box disappeared. That's the rule. A stick of chewing gum. Okay. Right now you're thinking that's it? No, I'm not, because I've already clicked it. That's right, the contents of the red box and blue box were a piece of caramel and a stick of chewing gum. They definitely accounted for this. So this time, instead of saying one or the other, they're telling me the contents of both. So this is intended to be read twice. You might have thought you made the wrong choice before, but now seeing them together like this, you can't really say either choice is the wrong one. Well, I guess everyone has their personal preference. If you prefer caramel to gum, for example, you're definitely thinking of choosing to open the box again based on that preference. Clear choices you wanted were basically this: the selfish desire to open up both boxes and compare the contents, then pick the one that most suited to you. But you see, reality is the same as this game. You pick one, the one you didn't choose disappears, so there's no way you could check the result, and if at that time, if you'd done this, or perhaps if you'd done that, it wouldn't be hard to imagine you could be happier, or perhaps less happy than you are right now. In the end, you only have the pleasure of approving of or being disappointed by the choice you did make. But that's fine. After all, didn't you enjoy the thrill of making the choice? I mean, I personally went with my choice and would stick by it, but you taunted me. Like now, you knew the context of both boxes, and the choice between the red and blue, it would just be a waste of time. Because instead of this boring game of boxes, you'd be looking at the changing evening summer sky, listening for the distant sound of thunder, pondering if it's going to rain, and that'd be much more interesting. So they were ready for us to click it again, and what they did this time was assume that we'd already clicked it, and we're like, well, we knew you'd come here, so we're going to continue the story. Once you've made your decision. Interesting choice on their part. I like the way they did that. Yeah, so the wake's going to be from 6 p.m. tomorrow. The service will be the day after, from noon until 1. The venue will be the Okonomiya Ceremony Hall. I see. It's Deputy Mayor Izakawa's grandson's funeral. We'll talk to you about. We'll have to pay our respects. Mia, and I'll have you go in my stead. Okay, got it. Should I wear morning clothes? How much should I wear for the funeral offering? Bring for the funeral offering. You can go in your school uniform. Button it up properly. For money, 100,000 yen. They've done a lot for us. Mion quietly whistled in awe at the exorbitant amount of money her grandmother was offering. Let's just remove 2 zeros from that. She offered $1,000. Izakawa-san's been a prudent person since his days as head of the municipal office. Even if those government types paid me a visit, they'd always stay outside. But whenever I offered Izakawa-san a cup of tea, he'd come inside and listen to what I had to say. He always lent a proper ear to what people had to say. Others should learn from a person like him. Yes, learn from the person who sucked up to a power-hungry tyrant. Got it. Alright, despotic authoritarians, people who suck up to them should do it. Yeah, should do that. People should do that. Alright, got it. The two guests made a show of nodding, making it clear they're paying attention as Oryu reminisced. The sight of them trying not to get on Oryu's bad side was humorous enough to elicit laughter from Mion occasionally. How young was the Izakawa's grandson when he died? 11, apparently. Oryu closed her eyes and shook her head lightly, lamenting the loss of such a young life. Was this another murder you orchestrated? If I recall correctly, he said he only had one grandchild. How sad. Nothing worse than a parent outliving their offspring. You're really nice to other people, Granny. If Shion or I died, would you be this sad? Don't be stupid. Saying something like that is bad luck. Having got the reaction she expected, Mion cackled. The two guests, unsure if they're supposed to laugh along, instead forced awkward smiles. We'll take our leave for today, then. By tomorrow evening, we'll be by at 5 to pick you up. Until then, please excuse us. The guests left by the front door. Mion saw them off, waving her little hand goodbye. They're gone. It must be rough for them to pay you a courtesy visit, Granny. It'd have been fine if they just broke the news over the phone. Well, it was true. Sonozaki was an essential person for both her relatives and the residents of the village as a whole. As a voting bloc they numbered in the several thousands, it wasn't hard to imagine the mayor would try to pander to her. Unlike Mion, however, Oryu was looking up longingly at the sky from the veranda. What's the matter? Are you going senile? I just thought, no matter whose grandchild it was, I feel sorry for them. Saying that, she let out a deep sigh. Mion was let down, as normally her grandmother would have scolded her for her attitude. Mion, you know, that minister's grandson. How long has it been since he was abducted? 4 days, maybe. Or you let out another deep sigh. He might be the grandchild of our bitter enemy, but I feel sorry for him. We're escalating to assassination and kidnappings, but let's feel sorry for our opponents that we've escalated so unnecessarily towards. Really? That's enough of a warning. We should bring this to an end soon. Note, warning. The playful expression drained from Mion's face, leaving behind a stern one. And as if to ascertain Oryu's will, looking into her eyes. Oryu expressing her intention with only those eyes looked into Mion's. I want some tea. Could you call for some? Some of that chocolate, too. Mion gave a small nod and turned around. Shimiko-san, are you there? Grandma wants some tea. Could you prepare some? From far away, a voice responded in the affirmative. Mion, after confirming she had been heard, picked up the phone and began dialing. Hello, this is Mion. Yeah. My father there. Yes. Oryu's looking a lot less like the one that likes Kermit, and a lot more like a despotic tyrant. Someone that I feel like the police would be justified in just barging into their house and shooting, but you know, gotta have a rule of law. Otherwise, we have the U.S. We'll just go with half that country, half the country. All right. I think that's enough of this for tonight. It's been fun, but I don't want to get myself burned out. I think that'll be all the Higurashi we do tonight.